Welcome to the party. Gotta click a bunch of buttons real quick. Real quick. Get here early. Awesome. Get here early. Awesome. Get here. Sorry about that, Loopy. It's not what we're doing today. How do I share my stream? Oh yeah, I can't figure out how to do that. When you see a good conversation and you want to join in, but you're busy right now. Sorry. Sorry for that. Oh my god, I can't even spell. Oops. Done. I did work. Okay. Let's load the game. We are in the land of Soul. We are in Tall Lanterns. I started it. It's going. I'm not super good at this game yet. I'm still learning. Hold on a second. Right here, let's go above ground. Let's do a little mini tour so you can see the damage so far. Ignore the blood. Bridges. Okay. Can get my hair all laying down right. Alright. Here we go. This is Tall Lanterns. Ta-da. Bam. Graveyard. Entryway. Large enough for the traders. This is storage for stone and mobs. Okay. Down. Down. Alright. This is my ant colony. Alright, all these hold like one category of item. This is gems. Why do we not have any gems? Did we keep them? Oh, I'm mistaken. It's gonna auto pause every time I say it. It's gonna breathe. Okay. I don't even have any gems. Let me see if G. Maybe I sold one. I don't want to trade one. Maybe I sold one. No gems. That's sad. Oh yeah. Stuff 7. Okay, so I plan to destroy these rooms and make more farms, and then these might become important people rooms or offices. Oops. These I'm gonna leave. And then these will probably be offices and lunchrooms for important people. And then bedroom. Barracks area. So this is actual barracks. This is archery. A library. And then weapon and armor storage. And this is a siege workshop. I think I'm gonna put a ballista thing in there too. But yeah. And then all the workshops are in here. The butcher's locked off because of miasma. And so yeah, all the things are here. Okay, and then we go over here, go down. I go like 10 floors at a time. Okay, so this is more mass storage of everything. And then this is a dormitory because for a minute there I was just unable to make doors. But we made beds. So I started a dormitory. These are all going to be dormitory. So everybody has a bed. Okay. And then if we go down to go for my exploration, which is, oh, this is going to be a second barracks. Actually, I should think that like right now. This is going to be barracks 2. I mean barracks. Oh. Okay. Okay. Barracks 2. So we have, and then we actually need to make a second squad. Captain of the Guard squad. Diplomacy. Okay, hold on. No, but do I want a captain of the guard? Yeah, we'll do it. Captain of the Guard. That's it? Okay. Oh, people need things. Alright, we're just gonna pause everything for a second and finish this little tour. Okay, so doors are stopping things from running into my house. There's a rock in the way. See, this is why we have multiple doors. People be proper the doors open, just like building. All these little dig outs are like I found some metal or gems that could be sold. Yeah, see, I thought I crashed into the caverns. Pretty neat caverns, I think. Saw a giant Om. Let's see. But I had to I decided to wait on going into the caverns for a minute because the Cyclops showed up and killed a third of these guys. So I need them to train a little bit before we get mucking about in the caverns, get attacked from all sides. So we're actually down here. And we're gonna walk. Be like, no, guys. Okay. And then I also was gonna. Yeah, I want you guys to dig that out. Okay, and that's kind of the whole thing. That's it. Pull down. And then this thing that I had going on up there because I got bored. And just was like, I'm going to build a castle with a moat. And now I have most of the castle moat that I'm almost ready to flood the back half of this map. I'm not quite there yet. But I can control these. And these top ones don't do anything. But these ones down here, I can open and close. And right now I've closed them to see what happens to all this water. Does it evaporate? Should I open up this back part so like it's always flowing out? And if I do, is this gonna be full of water or just have like a trickle of water? I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm excited though. For now, we're gonna see how long it takes for this to evaporate. Whatever turns to ice, that could be. It's not very deep, so like no one really drowns in it. It's just kind of annoying. Okay. Woman! What's up, woman? The humans and I get along. Okay. I think I sold all my gems to him. I am making a squad. I really want to check out these rumors. There's a rumor that in the midsummer of 146, the army of Abigail marched on death. Oh no. The dwarves are fighting the elves. Where do I live? I live here. The fair goes. What happened to me? The runs and everything cool runs. What's cool runs? I'm not cool runs. I don't understand anything. Am I allied with this? Am I allied with this? Maybe. That's why you're all in my ass, like you're all right next door. They show up always straight out of everything. And be like, okay, we want to trade. And I'm like, no, no. Oh, ass has become sort of. Alright, guys, we gotta create a squad. Captain of the God squad. Yeah. I want them to wear metal armor. Okay, so the. Not these guys. A bone carver. Not a farmer. Sure. No. No. Yes. I love peasants just going in the army. I don't know how to do anything. Join the army. Like, it's not my favorite, but it does work. Servant, fish section. Do we even have any fish? Come with me, cousin. I need to name some more dwarves. That's something I've been trying to do. It's like name most of them. That was something happened before. Nobody in chat? I get to do it. Dead. Sometimes it's not very good. The Dobar and Shine. I don't even. One. How is Dobar Wonderbar? Isn't that great? What's she? She. And there's Dolly. Your name would be It's not super fun right now, but later on when they die, it's very traumatic. They're like, not doo 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 doo. Dumbass. Alright. Dumbass. Married. Safety nets. Duck Lady's really cool. She describes things. Oh, we gotta. I want to know name thing. Oh, not that one. Where's Mets? Mets. Mets. I love meds. I think I gave him a go. Maybe not arguing. I we call him. I didn't see nothing. That's what we call him. He's great. Shortest. Shortest to Jersey Bourne. Shortest. They're really good nicknames, I promise. Doran. Allied Labors. Units. Ethon. Ethon. Color work. Ethon. Alright. Let's get some work done. Is traders? Is there traders? There are no more traders right now. I was up to. We need to make sure that these dwarfs are military equipment. We have food and drink, and then all need to get trained. Back to squads. Everybody. Schedule. Train. Step 1. Equip. Update your equipment. Fix it. Okay. We need shields, but I want buckler. Stock. Actually, we should probably start with weapons. Weapons. What weapons do we have? Oh yeah, let's do it. Okay, I think I just made a couple of weapons. Add a copper. Alright, let's see how much steel I have. No, not fish, actually. Bar, iron, purple ash. Okay, we have not made any pig iron. I just started it. Sick. Great. Okay. Alert! I gotta get some shit. Alright. Yeah. Got any garbage holes to throw out? Excuse me. Am I allowed to sell shoes and gloves? These mares are insane. This is the most random thing that I ever heard of. And it better, like, if I track down why they're doing it, and it's just a random, we hate socks, orange Jesus, I'm gonna throw rocks through Tarn's windows. You're gonna simulate all this other garbage, but for some reason, some mares just ate floodgates. If I get one more message about making and not selling floodgates, I'm gonna hit somebody. Anyway. Nothing. Cool. He's like, ethical restrictions. Those are humans. They don't care. Alright. All that. Not artifacts. What else you got? Worth. Encyclopedias. Yeah. Alright. Let's sell some of this. Because we have a crazy amount of food. Question? sell that. I don't know what that is. I don't like it. Ratweed. I want to sell some ratweed. Donkey cheese stew. It sounds like Alfredo. Donkey cheese. We just have a lot of food, so we have 3,000 food, so I'm going to sell some food. I hit a work at gym. I found one. I found another. Why is it not having? Why? Piece of shit. No, that should be enough. Boop. Do the thing. Do the roll. I'll be right back. I want my vanilla Coke. Bum, bum, ba, bum, bum, bum. Okay. Do we have any steel bars? Oh, that's right. I don't like that. I haven't seen nothing in the carpet. Well, good for him. Makes him not. Okay. Are we done? Come here, broker man. Broker man, broker man. He's pretty good usually. He's asleep. Wake up. No, come back down. Come back. Come on. I hate when it's. This also helps me figure out if I've like done something stupid. Diplomacy. What? Nothing changes. Can you guys bring me some weed seeds, a potato, and that is great. Lentil. Oh, can you bring me weapons? Because like I can't. I don't think we can handle them. Fuck. I did it wrong. Alright. Seats. Weed. Good enough. Training weapons. Everything. Ammo. Bolts. Weapons. That I think when the first here. Crossbows! Feet. Boots. Shield. Buckle. Lamp. Bring me the silver. Go away. A box? Oh my god. I always have blocks. Useless. Useless. Don't care. Don't care. Don't care. We don't have no pearl ash. We didn't make pearl ash because we didn't. Who knows? Oh, we trade. Trading. Okay. No. What about this here, guys? I'm looking forward all the junk you're really drinking. Stay violent stuff. Nobody cares about books currently. This cheap spring. So, we gotta buy stuff. Choose. Someone's whining about bread, so I'm gonna buy some bread. Yeah. You can't sell them, so. Okay. So let's take some other wearables. Ah, okay. Grab. Anything about this? Build a library. We'll take it. Somebody will find very fast. Bolts. Like that. For the cloth, I've got some animals and I've got some plants, but for the leather, what? Hi. What do you mean? Okay. Hi. Come here. Come on. Hello. Say hello, Alice. Leave it alone. No. Get down. Thank you. Put it open. Hi. What you doing? No. Don't. 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 Good girl. That is Alice. She's our newest friend to the house. She can be a little. Alright. I want to watch this episode of one of my favorite YouTube series. So I'm gonna do that. Here we go.
Making this up. Half hour ago, we got an email from our window man, and they just informed us that half of our windows they produced wrong.
They used the wrong style of frame.
Like, it's not like crazy. It's not like it's like a totally different window or they're completely made wrong. They just produced half the windows in one style and half the windows in a different style. I don't even know what to tell you. Yeah, so we have like two options. Whether we like, keep these windows that are like half different than the other and half like the ones we were supposed to get, or we wait another 8 weeks to get them remade.
Yeah.
So, anyways, as we do best, we are starting another project.
We are going to ignore our problems.
Yes, we have like 4 other half-finished projects,
Yes.
but we want to start a new one. We're going to build a wall. I think we could build this wall really fast.
Oh, I think so too. You know, Jen,
What?
by the end of, not this month, but next month, we might even have like a toilet in our house.
But no windows.
Our house is so open concept, I will be able to see you from here. Right there, I can see you.
Just to clarify, the window mistake is with the big manufacturing company that is making the windows. It's not our window company here that's facilitating it. They are incredible. It's manufacturing defect, right?
Yeah.
You got a fun fact?
So when you got these straps, they always get in the way of everything. I think drywallers hate them the most because they stick out like 1/4 of an inch. So if we're putting a wall up against this, I gotta notch this guy. In retrospect, it actually makes sense why we have to build this wall, because remember how we had a chimney here?
So this lovely chimney right here was used to burn oil.
Yep. The 10 million oil furnaces that they had.
This is the new chimney.
This is the new chimney wall.
Well, isn't it where all like the poop smells go?
Yes, that's correct.
Unfortunately.
Does it smell yet?
Oh, it will after you hit the toilet.
Oh. I didn't know today was a roasting day too. Jesus.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's unfortunate. He's like the guy who it's like their Copernicus in this world. Who figured out like day and night cycles or something.
Oh.
Oh, it doesn't fit.
How bad does it not fit? Oh wow. Well, I'm glad we didn't build the wall in place because we would have had to rebuild the whole thing.
Does it fit?
Copernicus died.
Yeah. Well, I made it fit. That's all I have to say. Just a deep sigh. Well, how you feeling after the news, Jen?
Good.
You're okay?
Things happen for a reason.
Hashtag grateful. You look okay?
Looks good, bud.
Thanks, bud.
What's next?
That's it. We just leave it like this.
Excuse me.
Perfect?
Yeah, we actually did a good job for this one.
Really?
Not even joking. Yeah, I'm impressed. I thought we were pretty trash.
More people. Alright, we created. I really do want to do this.
All done?
Kind of. So now we need some blocking, so the drywall guys have something to screw into.
Yes. Oh.
Hmm?
I was wondering what you were doing with that.
Mm-hmm.
That's I know you were really worried, Nikki.
Yes.
That this was going to be too chonky, the wall, but it's really not that bad.
No, like on the CAD model, it seemed way worse, but here,
Yeah,
not that bad.
doesn't seem that thick.
No.
Like, yeah, it's thick, but we also have like this. Like, we have lots of chonky things in the house.
Yeah, I think it's fine.
I think it works. Happy?
Looks so good. I have so much room here for my electrical right here. Fresh air intake and exhaust. Venting for the furnace. Venting for the gas hot water heater. And most importantly, our lines for the heat pump. That's why we had to make all these. And I'm sure we can also share one with the plumbing guy. I totally forgot about that.
I am so excited to tell you this. I have partnered with USA Today for the Project Home Improved 100K giveaway. You heard that right. They are giving away $100,000 to people like you who are renovating their home. And you can legit be renovating anything. You could be working on your bathroom, your kitchen, your flooring, patching up a roof, legit anything. And we all know renovations are quite pricey. Like, to this day, I still have not met anyone who has gone under budget for a renovation, and also quicker. So I know everyone that is doing a renovation could use a little extra cash. There's gonna be 3 winners for this giveaway. Grand prize is a $50,000 cash giveaway and a pro consultation. There's gonna be 2 runners up and they both get $25,000 each. So to enter, it is super simple. I have a link down below in the description. Go there, fill out the form and enter. Just be sure that you read the eligibility to make sure you're eligible to enter and do it before it closes. It's not open long to enter, so make sure you enter soon. I am so excited to see who the 3 winners are. So good luck everyone and happy renovating. Good morning. We have been spending all morning working on our kitchen design here. We had it semi-designed, but because the plumbers are coming on Monday, we have to finalize the design where the dishwasher's going, where the sink is going, where the fridge is going. Everything needs to be decided. And we're really struggling with it. I think our biggest mistake and flaw with designing this kitchen is that we didn't plan out exactly where everything was going. So we have the sink here, but then we never planned to have the dishwasher right beside it. And if we put it there now, it gives us this really awkward
Space
where I don't even know if you can put a 6-inch drawer or something there.
It's weird because we're going for like the slim shaker style cabinet fronts too.
Yeah.
And that just looks weird when it's 6 inches.
But then if we put it over here on the island, is it too far?
I don't know.
Or
Like,
do you bump into it? Like, that's what I'm worried. I'm gonna get frustrated with the dishwasher.
I feel like when you design things, you just have to go through like the workflow. So like you're going here and then you put it here. Like I don't think that's that bad.
But then
Like-
won't it drip?
Like you still have to like move things, move your one leg, but it's not that bad.
No?
I think it's okay. Especially when the drawer is open, like you're not gonna drip that much.
Well, that's true.
So it's gonna open like this. So realistically, like how much drip are you gonna have? Just the section here. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world.
No.
You don't like it? You concerned?
I just thought the rule was you always had the dishwasher beside the sink.
I don't think it's an actual rule. I asked ChatGPT last night and it said no. Do you want the island the full 48 inches? Should I ask my friends again? How wide should a kitchen island be? Around 4 feet is the best.
Okay, go big, go home.
Go big, go home.
Go big, go home.
And since we're already at home, all we could do is just go big. Oh, I drew on my hand.
Do I need to get you the washable markers?
Yeah, look at this.
Pretty much we're just gonna draw out everything and then I'll walk you through the whole kitchen plan.
Done. Our sink is here. We have 2 options for our dishwasher. Here or here. Which one do you prefer?
Doing dishes, doing dishes, doing dishes.
Oh, you're walking on the sink right now, but yes. You don't look very happy.
It's kind of far. This one. Oh, my shin. Oh, my shin.
Yeah.
That's too close.
Okay, so we do
like,
have another option. So our island becomes like a little longer.
we finished designing our kitchen. It's
pretty fire.
I like it. I think it's perfect. And if it's not, unfortunately, we will not be able to change it by the time you guys see this video because the plumbers would have already started. And is this the worst crawl space you've been in?
It definitely is.
Overview. We have one wall here of kitchen, and then we have a 12.5-foot island right here. We're having the fridge freezer. Probably like a door like this. We have just the cooktop.
Mm-hmm.
Sink, then directly across the dishwasher. It will not hit your shins. Oh, my shin. It lines up perfectly with the sink.
Mm-hmm.
This is where the oven microwaves will be in the wall. And then we have a little bar stool area.
Yeah, like a little seating area.
So you can sit here, enjoy the fire, and also watch someone cook. But we also have one more area we haven't showed you here.
I got my coffee machine going right here. It's not going anywhere. Right here. Grinder for the coffee machine. Then I get like a little baby sink.
Yeah.
So I can make my coffee mess in this sink
Yeah.
so Jenna doesn't get mad. We have like a mini fridge going here for drinks. I love bubbly water.
Yeah.
So I want my bubbly water to be cold all the time. So this is what the fridge is for. And then we just have like some extra cabinetry here,
no,
here,
my
and here.
tea station.
I don't know how I feel about that. I'll see if I can slot you in.
So we're gonna start building walls again. When we were designing the front door and the window here, this is one where we went back and forth so many times because we have this freaking doormat area
It's actually like recessed in the concrete.
It kind of decided where the door had to be,
Yeah.
but then we couldn't put any window here now because the metal's there. And
Yeah.
so it was awful. So the front door area did change a bit just because the metal, where this area here is now a wall because we didn't really want like a 6-inch window.
No, like a
Have you
6-inch
seen-
side
have you
light.
seen those before?
I have. They look terrible. I'm sorry,
And-
guys.
And some homes where they're like this big, the frame's bigger than the window.
Yeah.
That's what would have happened right here. And so we decided that we're just putting a wall. So we gotta build a wall.
It's also not recommended to have glass like right by where your door hinges is, because then your door hinge is like very wobbly. It's like not as nice.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it's always nice to have it on something solid, like metal, which is why we're doing it this way.
Take 2. They're too short.
That's okay. You just want to hold it straightish, and I'll just attach it. Tell me you missed that noise.
Like, I don't mind building walls.
Oh,
I just want to put the kitchen in. Yeah.
I thought you just didn't like
I don't know
all
if
of
I
it.
like building roofs. I'll do walls, but I don't
Yeah.
know about roofs.
Trust me, we know about that one. When it rains like this inside the house, and our whole house gets wet.
The roof is not leaking. That is from the window.
Exciting. Cool. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna add some small blocking. And it's nice that we're not working outside anymore. It's great.
I know. It is coming down. I guess that works. Little waterfall feature.
It looks pretty good.
Can we put the doorbell right here?
That's what I was thinking.
Perfect, right?
Yeah, easy to wire too.
I want like the craziest doorbell ring.
Like a sheep or something like that. Like. "Meow."
No,
No?
like it just plays a whole song.
Oh wow.
You press it once, and then you regret pressing it because it just goes on for so
It's like the
long.
most embarrassing thing. It's like a 1 hour thing. And it just
Yeah.
keeps on
And then
going.
they're like, I'll never press that doorbell ever again.
Yeah.
I want that one. Woo! Are you ready to see the babiest wall we have ever built? It looks good, bud.
It's a wall. Our door. It's gonna be sturdy.
It's a good wall.
What's next?
Oh, we gotta show you. About a month, 2 months ago maybe?
Yeah.
We were working on the bathroom design in here, and we realized that if we just have a glass area here,
Mhm.
that when you come in here, not that this is like many people will come in here, it's our bathroom, but for our sakes, we will see all of our shampoo containers, and we're trying to figure out where the niche would go. And I really just don't want it ruining the bathroom,
Yeah.
all the containers. So we are building a little baby wall here where the niche will go in. And so
Wow.
the whole shower bathtub area will look so
Hello.
clean. But overview of this wet area, waterfall shower here, nice big bathtub over here.
That's not.
You guys want to hear a fun
Come here.
fact?
Yeah, you got a fun fact?
Come here.
Oh, so
Alex.
why do you guys think I'm putting 2 of these bad boys down here?
Because we bought the wood too short.
That's true, but the second thing is we have a shower basin going in, and it's kind of sloped. So the slope is really high here, and then it goes down to 0 here. So you're gonna add the
Oh.
bottom basin, and then you need to add the stuff onto the walls. So you're gonna have something to
Okay.
screw into. So that's why here, I was like, we should just have a double one.
That's so smart.
There you go. Wait,
Happy girl.
Needs blocking. Smart.
you already know.
Oh yeah.
That's exactly what we need.
Go shower. Washing my hair. Washing my hair. Here.
Yeah.
Grab it.
Yeah.
Washing the shower. Washing the shower.
Wow.
It's done.
Looks pretty good. We'll wait for the plumbers to destroy it,
and then we can figure out the niche.
Yes, once the plumbers have all their pipes in there.
We spent the whole morning planning out the rest of the bathrooms. This is our powder room here, and we pretty much just marked out everything for the plumbers where they're going to be putting their like toilet hole here, the sink hole here. We decided how big all our vanity, our toilets, like we decided all the materials, which is really cool. Like this sink, 30 inches, or vanity.
Yes.
Forgot.
This is our toilet room. This is where the toilet hole is.
And then there's the double vanity here.
6-foot vanity.
It has
Yeah.
long,
2 sinks.
curved
Okay, downstairs now.
home.
This room,
And
we
it's
have
slanted.
a single sink here,
And
and then we have a
few
standing
stairs.
shower,
Very
and then a big bathtub here,
Beware, it's
Wow.
poisonous.
and then a toilet. Over here,
Let's see what
this
that is.
space here, we want to put like a cabinet or shelving
Pickle
or
bait.
something here for extra storage. If anyone has
Pause. Okay. Okay. Pause. Show me. Oh, it's so cute. Oh, even pause it. I love him. What do you think, Alice? What do you think? It's a scorpion. It looks like a scorpion. How fast is it? Look at it. Oops, don't turn. Bye. Alright, well. Cool. Glad we know that's down. Down there. Okay. Alright, I need to get my bookkeeper office. Go the wrong way. Can I help you? Oh, yes. Okay. That's just a chart. Are you off to do things? The bookkeeper. Faith. What are you doing? Don't try to break nothing. Where's this child then? Ah. Are y'all playing? Are you good? Sometimes these guys just be fighting. Alright. You guys should be all stacked. So everybody's in the field. Oh,
suggestions on how we should do that,
That's a
and
good
what it should
question.
look like. Because this is one thing I have no idea how to make a nice toilet storage. We are building a wall.
Yes, because you can't just have metal and nothing. We need something to attach the siding to. So we're gonna build a wall here, and then one more wall right there.
We're we're getting ready for the windows. We actually just realized we don't have lumber. BRB. It's not a bundle. Want me to carry it? Oh. That's one?
I got the lumber. We just need to drill holes now in the metal, our favorite task.
Oh gosh.
I'm just so sick and tired of all these small building tasks. Because you know what's gonna happen? You know what's gonna happen? The plumbing guy is gonna finish, and then the HVAC guy is gonna come, and then we're gonna need to build like little boxes for him around the ducting that he built. We're gonna more building. I just want windows, and I just want to live in. I'm okay. No flooring, that's fine. Plumbing barely working, also fine.
Yeah, he wants to
Get
put the
down.
toilet in before we
Get
have
out.
windows.
I'm just eager to move
Go
in,
on.
okay?
What are you doing, Trouble?
Crazy what you have to do for metal.
So much work.
All alone in tonight, you don't seem to forget about yourself. Wondering how it could go so wrong, but you didn't call for help. Let me tell you about the trees and the seas, how it's all connected. Flowers and the birds and trees, and all the lights that were all affected.
Another beautiful day. And we're doing the same thing again. We're gonna measure this, cut a 2x4. You know how it goes.
Finish the wall.
Finish the wall. Thanks, bud.
Well, thanks, bud.
Thanks, bud. What?
Thanks, bud.
What?
And if you're wondering how we talk to each other at home,
Kicks my ruler for no
Okay.
good reason.
get to work.
I am working. Go get the chalk. We're gonna snap it. And then you can draw on it.
You're mean. Legit
What are
exact
you
same.
doing?
How's it going, bud? You all done?
Pray, pray,
You ready?
I'm breathing in. I'm breathing out.
Snug, smooth fit. Look at that. All thanks to Jenna's.
Oh, Nikki, who's here?
What? Teacher, stop.
So much just happened. We were just working there, and then this guy comes into our house, and he's like, I'm a masonry worker. I'm working on like your neighbor's house, and they don't have a toilet. Can I use your toilet? And then we're like, yeah, first of all, yes, you can use our toilet. Second of all, I'm like, wait, can you do our fireplace? And so then we started talking to this guy, and we showed him our whole fireplace, and he's
Alright, I'm
able
gonna
to
eat my
fix
sandwich
the
real quick.
hole in the fireplace downstairs, and to turn it into a rock wall.
The guy just needed to pee.
And we were like, no, come look at our fireplace. Can we show you? And so I think we found a masonry person. Yeah.
It's exciting because he said he's also gonna like regrout the outside of our
Yeah,
fireplace
like
to make it more waterproof.
He's gonna do the whole fireplace for us. And I don't even know how
do
you
it.
find a person to do that. This is from the 60s, this thing.
I know.
That was going on. And then while he was there and we were showing him our fireplace, our plumbers show up because they have all the supplies. They delivered all the supplies. You want to see? Look at the amount of plumbing parts we have for our house.
This is like a commercial warehouse vibe.
This is half of them. We still need the water ones. This is
Yeah.
just to get rid of the water. We don't have the water that comes in.
Yeah, so they're gonna start with the drainage. That's what they said.
Gonna do
And
all this.
look at everything that they brought. This is like 4-inch pipe for some reason. Then they got some 3-inch. Like, oh my gosh.
But that wasn't even like the best part is that when they showed up, they brought us champagne.
Yeah.
They are like the sweetest. So our plumbers, they are from Blue Monkey Plumbing, and it is a father-son duo, and they are like the most down-to-earth people I've like ever met. Like they showed up, bringing all this stuff here, and congratulating us with champagne.
I was confused.
I was like, wait, this is backwards. We should be giving this to you. Like, why are you bringing this to us? Like,
Yeah.
they They are starting next week, so you get to meet them next week. But we are so excited to work with them because they are just like incredible.
Yeah, they even suggested that we spend a little bit more money and we get this really nice System 15 PVC pipe for our house. And then it's supposed to last a little longer because once we lock it in down there, it's going to be tough to fix it. So
Yeah.
per their recommendation, we got some good materials.
Yeah, so if you're in the Vancouver area and you need plumbing and you want like really, really genuine people to work on your house, you should 100% hire them. They are like the sweetest people, which you'll see next week, but you're gonna have to wait. Okay, anyways, it started raining.
It's cold.
It's getting cold.
Yep.
We gotta finish building this wall. We've been working on it for
I got
2
some
days
food.
now.
I hate
Mhm.
working around metal. It's just too detailed. I'm tired.
This
I
one.
have paused the game because things are happening. What are you doing?
Ride on, train to be paid. Station, Taylor Noonan. Source to nurture the world. Ready, singing new tune.
Winds are so strong here that when it rains 12 feet from the window.
What are you doing?
That was a lot of freaking work to just put a plywood sheet here.
I know, right? I mean, it looks good though now, huh? Eh?
Just looks like we put a plywood sheet here.
I know, but it's securely on there.
What are you doing?
Bolts and everything.
Yeah.
Do you want to show everyone the other plywood sheet that we put on?
Oh my gosh.
Bye. Love
yeah,
you.
it looks
you
like we
next
did
time.
absolutely nothing, but this was so complicated to put on.
Yeah, it was tough.
It wasn't very rewarding.
No, like it really doesn't look like we did anything.
No. And we spent 2 days doing it.
Get down. Down. Oh, drop. See you next week. Oh, can't wait. I hope it's not like. Oh no. My phone died.
Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to our kitchen. Before you get comfortable there and take a seat, we're gonna go for a little trip. Over to the bookshelf we go. What cookbook is it gonna be today? This is the name of the game with this new series, is I can just pick any old recipe from one of my books. Right, the series is called Spine and Dine. Spine and Dine. It's a controversial name, apparently. The comments were all lit up. A lot of people telling me you should change it. And well, I considered it. I was close to a lot of good suggestions. There was one in particular I was going to run with, and a found out that another YouTuber was using it, the name. I couldn't do it. I can't. So I got Spine and Dine. I like it. I'm going down with the ship with Spine and Dine. Also, I worked so hard on this thing. It'd be a shame to change that. So give it a few weeks. It's gonna be rolling off your tongue in no time. Anyway, today's a big day over here. And I teased this last week, but this is awkward. So I'm gonna be popping my Betty Crocker cherry over here. This is the Betty Crocker's cookbook. And I had her mug in your face last week, but there she is again. The woman, the legend, the myth. It's all advertising. I know she doesn't exist. And to all the other guys out there that are just finding this out, I was once like you. It's big news, I know. Anyway, I'll leave that with you while we head back to the kitchen. So when I'm thinking of Betty here, as I often do, the Croc Star, I close my eyes and I feel like I'm in between the 1950s, 1970s, that kind of period. That's what I see. That's the kitchen that I'm in. Actually, she did come out in the 1920s, old Betty here. I should have just brought it up. I do have the very first cookbook, Betty Crocker's Picture Cookbook. This one is from 1950. It cost $3.50 when it came out. That's a bargain. This is a brand new cover-to-cover revision that completely updates this one. There's two different faces going on here. I did not realize that they always are updating her face. She's had a bit of a glow up. She started like there, okay, and then here, a little younger. She looks nice. She loves the red though. You know, you flip through the book here and you can see why it's such a big hit. It's just very accessible, straightforward, easy to follow, jam-packed full of information in here. I should really just sit down and read it so I know what I'm talking about on my show. Instead, I'm just gonna flip to the chicken chapter. How about that? And I'm gonna cook up a chicken. That's gonna be my starting point. After that, I shall make up some chicken a la king, because that sounds interesting. Not familiar with the dish, but I do understand that there might be a crown involved. That's what we're gonna do. Who would you rather? So I'm gonna start off with a 3.5 pounder. Whole bird here, and I'm gonna roast the chicken as Betty has intended here, mostly pat dry, salt all over and in the cavity as well. Slather it up with butter, massage it in there. Now the cookbook says to roast this at 375 degrees Fahrenheit for an hour and 45 minutes to up to 2 hours, 2 hours and 15 minutes, which I'm not gonna do because I think that's a bit excessive nowadays. I'm gonna aim for around 70 minutes. I think that's a good way to, I feel like if the cookbook's out of date with the cooking times, that is completely acceptable. All right, 70 minutes. I'm looking for 165, 158, with a little carryover cooking. Whoa, hello. Today's episode is sponsored by ZipRecruiter. So if you're hiring for your business or your company, you're searching for the best possible people for that role, of course, with the right skills and experience, you know? Someone that's passionate about what they do, someone that would be a great fit for the team. That's what you're looking for. However, the whole rigmarole hiring process, that takes a lot of time that you probably don't have and a lot of work that you don't have time to do. With ZipRecruiter, you just post your job with one click and that instantly gets sent out to their network of millions of job seekers. Because their tech excels at identifying the most qualified candidates for a job by scanning resumes to identify whose skills and experience match your job posting. The results are speedy too. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter find their quality candidate within the first day. Better believe that you deserve the best for your business, of course. So hire the best. With ZipRecruiter. You can try it out for free at ZipRecruiter.com/antichef. Again, ZipRecruiter.com/anti-chef. Thank you very much. While the chicken cools, we gotta make some toast cups. I went with white Wonder Bread for my choice of sliced bread today, and that's because when I close my eyes and I'm in that Betty Crocker kitchen, I see Wonder Bread. That's just the type of bread that completes my vision. Simpler times. 6 slices of bread. I gotta remove the crust. Betty ain't no crust girl. So a wonderful lesson I've learned through making this show is to save the crust of the bread. If you're gonna trim it off, dry it out and use it for breadcrumbs. So that's what I shall do. With some softened butter. This is also the kind of cookbook that would say, or margarine. And I haven't thought about margarine in like many, many moons. Actually, you know what? When I close my eyes, I'm back in Crocstar's kitchen. I can see margarine there too. Simpler times. So one side of the bread buttered. Butter side down into a muffin pan, into the cup. Maybe those muffin cups are too big. I'm gonna use this muffin pan instead because I think the other one's too big. Yes. So for chicken a la king crown. I can see a crown with that. It doesn't say specifically, it just says toast cup. So for my toast cups, gotta toast them 12 minutes or until lightly toasted. 375 Fahrenheit oven. Lightly browned, that looks like a crown. Once the chicken's cool, I'm gonna start peeling it. This chicken is definitely not cool. It's still very hot, but I have to power through here. Chicken's peeled, now I'm gonna roughly dice it up. Say ça. Say hello to the only fresh vegetable we're working with today, like fresh as in fresh. Green pepper, I need half a cup worth, and it needs to be diced. Betty Crocker was a product of her time, or at least she was. This iteration of her is a product of her time, right? Because I'm coming across ingredients that I just don't see in modern day recipes, such as the canned and jarred vegetables. It's very common in the cookbook, but I don't really cook with them. In fact, I never do. It's not a dig at these at all. I actually don't know why they're not as popular as they used to be. Probably just because fresh vegetables are just so easy to get a hold of these. Hey, Betty Crocker, Crocstar, talk to me. Why were canned vegetables so popular in the 60s?
For several reasons, including their convenience, affordability, and long shelf life.
What was the downfall of canned vegetables? Why aren't they so popular anymore?
They are chock full of excess salt and flavor enhancers, which are a problem for digestion and can lead to stomach pains. Additionally, the sodium levels in a can of vegetables are very high. Another downfall is the taste and texture of canned vegetables, which are often found lacking when compared to fresh or frozen vegetables.
Well then. So I got some sliced mushrooms. So drain it. My sliced can of mushrooms, love it. I'm joking, I'm not gonna drink that. With the mushrooms here, I also have a jar of sliced pimientos. Also, let me drain them. So I'm gonna need a bigger frying pan for all of this, or a skillet, or whatever you wanna call it. Hello, Charlie. Chuck, heating up the pan, medium heat. In an alternate universe, maybe the Crocstar and Julia Child could be friends. This is half a cup of butter. Watching that butter melt, I realize how much that is. C'est la vie. In goes the sliced green pepper, half a cup worth, can of sliced mushrooms. Cook this for 5 minutes. Looking at those mushrooms, they look a little different than what I'm used to. A bit slimier than I'm used to. After 5 minutes, I'm gonna blend in a half a cup of all-purpose flour, as well as a teaspoon of salt, and just like a hoot of pepper. and a quarter teaspoon, but I'm going with a hoot. It's got to be on a low heat too, so blend it in. She says to stir this until the mixture becomes bubbly. I don't know. I don't think she's gonna let me down here, but also I just need to cook the flour. I know that. 2 cups of light cream. Oh, I gotta turn the heat off. Turn the heat off. 1 3/4 cup of chicken broth as well. Reserve the mushroom juices. Totally missed that. The mushroom juices. Remember I was gonna drink that? And it's still in the sink, hallelujah. I need a 1/4 cup worth of it. Wow, nice save. That's exactly a 1/4 cup. The reserved mushroom juices. Okay, so I have had this boiling for a minute here, and as feared, the flour didn't properly blend. Some of it did, some of it's lumped. Honestly, it's not as bad as I thought it was. I make the same mistake over and over and over again. What I have to do is blend the flour in with some liquid first. Get it all stirred together and smooth before adding all of my liquid. 2 cups of chicken. Say that's 1 and a bit, and that's around 2 cups of chicken. As well as that 1 jar of pimiento, sliced pimiento that is. Blend that, and then we stir that all together. We're gonna put that on as low heat as possible. I'm gonna heat that all the way through. Serve this in the toast cup. And I don't mind things getting a bit sloppy. I think that's kind of fits the bill, you know? Why don't you just kind of go avant-garde a bit? Does that look acceptable? It's hard to plate this kind of stuff. I'm gonna start from scratch. Little dollop of this on the bottom. Toast crown in there, and there. Okay, I mean, what on earth are you supposed to do with that, right? Order up! Blast from the past is what it is. I don't make them like they used to. Kids these days are missing out. I don't think there's anything as good as chicken a la king. Okay, so yeah, several competing accounts about the origin of this dish, so I just choose not to get into all of that. It's cozy, it's very comfortable, delicious, perfection really. I can't knock anything about it. It just, it's as good as anything else I make on this show. It really is. Like, look how serious I am. Now there's a French dish called the vol au vent, which is serving something like that in a pastry case. I haven't made it on the show just yet, but I feel like it's very similar to that. But I'm not gonna dive into the origins of this dish. Once you add it to the toast cup, you gotta eat it fast. And you can see I went through a number of different toast cup crowns because while I was filming, it was becoming soggy, the bread. So yeah, you want a crunchy bread. The difference between this and something like all the other dishes I make on the show is that I was using light cream, which I never use light cream. It's always the heavy stuff, but here it's light cream mixed with chicken broth. Health food, right? There's not one thing I would have changed about this dish. It was just the most perfect thing. Canned vegetables or not, I don't give a shit. This was Jamie and Betty. Spine and Dine, episode 2. Bon appetit. Au revoir.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to a very dangerous panel. We have some incredible creators here today to talk to you about all the ways to get in trouble with the law and your local neighbors. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves, though I'm sure they do not need to.
I'm Peter Schriepel, and I like airplanes.
Well, let me see if my voice is there. I'm Electro Boom, and I try to make high voltage, low voltage, any voltage circuits, and I get hurt in the process. Sorry about my voice.
I'm Drake. My YouTube channel is StyroPyro, and I make videos about lasers, high voltage, and chemistry. So a lot of fun stuff.
My name's Alec, and I'm a blacksmith and a metal worker, so use fire and hammers.
Nice, and I'm Tamara from Mythbusters. So we're going to start off by talking about the one thing that we all love, law enforcement and TSA. So what is the craziest story that you have and the best excuse you've used to get away with what you were doing wrong?
Ooh, I have to go first? Who's going first?
You can jump around.
Okay.
I think you said you had a story, sir.
Well, I know you had some trouble with TSA on the way in, right?
Yeah, I was trying to bring in my Tesla coil handheld gun. It looks like a gun, right? So everything, I always have trouble in the airports because I throw all these strange stuff in my luggage, and they are fine because they end up being electronics. There is no explosive in there. But then this guy, it looks like a gun. It was passing through the X-ray, and the guy looked at the X-ray. Excuse me, sir, what is that thing in your? And then he looked at me. You're Electro Boom. Okay, go.
Oh, that's awesome that they recognized you there.
So, it's good that it works out. The moral of the story, become a big YouTube channel if you want to pass TSA easily.
If I was the TSA agent, I would have stopped you and been like, I don't know if we should let this guy through.
Exactly. Yeah, actually, there was another time, like, you go through the U.S. Customs, the guy also knew me, and he actually told me, hey, you are going to blow stuff in our hotels? I didn't know how to answer him, yes or no. Would you let me in U.S. if I said yes? Or, it was funny. I got into U.S., so no problem.
This is why I have global entries, so I don't have to have letters to explain all the residue on it.
Right.
So.
That's smart.
But I hear you have a cop story.
Yeah. I mean, I know at the last Open Sauce I talked about the time the FBI visited my cabin in the woods, but the funny part is my first run-in with feds was actually almost 20 years ago when I was 12 years old. So it's a funny story because so at the time money was tight in my family, and I overheard my parents talking about ways that they could make ends meet. I'm like, hey, I have a perfect idea. We need to buy industrial quantities of sodium metal and sell it on the internet. so for the uninitiated, sodium metal is it's extremely reactive. When you throw it in water, it explodes. So it explodes in contact with water. But for all the pyros out there, when you try buying it on the internet, it's like $200 a pound, and it was like that, 20 years ago. But the kicker is it's actually one of the cheapest industrial metals because, I mean, salt is almost half sodium, and you just, tickle it with electricity and you get the metal out, and there's like, big plants that make that. But long story short, for less than $1,000, you could get a 400-pound barrel of it delivered to a residential address. So we start chopping up and selling it on the internet. It sells like hotcakes. We buy this stuff for like pennies on the dollar, and we sell it for $200 a pound, and it was great. I had a whole barrel of sodium that I could play with, and we're selling it like hotcakes. And we buy another barrel, so we're up to 800 pounds of this stuff. But then guy pulls in the driveway, and he was pretty unhappy. It wasn't illegal to sell this, but I guess he was really angry about like certain hazmat things, and he might have even been with the FAA, if that makes sense. It's been so long ago, but he shut us down, but we didn't get in any actual trouble over it. But yeah, that was actually my first run-in with the cops then. Yeah.
Oh, you're first, so there's more.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh no. Well, speaking of the FAA, I have gotten in trouble there. I mean, this story might be getting old at this point, but it was with the third ultralight I built, which is like the plane I could sit and fly around. And this thing was built under the FAA 103 regulations, which is actually kind of insane that they have this. But any airplane under 254 pounds that flies less than 55 miles an hour and carries less than 5 gallons of gas, there is no sort of government intervention as far as regulation or like looking into the airplane itself. As far as like, is it airworthy? Well, that's up to the pilot and who's getting into it. I think mainly has to do with the mass of the plane hitting a structure or something. Because I've watched a few YouTube videos of people getting airplanes that don't know how to fly these things, hitting the sides of houses and stuff, and the house is typically fine. But anyway, someone really didn't like my airplane, and they called the FAA, made a huge stink about it. Then the FAA instructor calls me, he's like, "Yeah, well, I'm calling to investigate you because someone has reported you for, violating FAA or, Part 103 rules." And then I was like, "Oh no." And then he's like, "But I'm a big fan of your channel." And then he tells me,
Nice.
"Yeah, it's a little overweight. Can we have some proof of this?" Which I technically don't even have to, but I'm like, well, this guy's cool. I'll just take a picture of the plane on the scale and send it. I did a video on it, but I think it's about time I probably break a few more rules because I'm getting tired of telling that story.
So, Alec, obviously they're talking about being afraid of humans. What's the machine that you are most afraid of?
It is the metal lathe. The metal lathe is the machine that I am terrified of constantly every single time I use it.
Cheers for metal lathe. Yay!
Metal lathe accidents.
The consequence of an accident looks a lot like the beginning of making spaghetti bolognese.
What about you guys? What machines are you afraid of in your lines of work?
Well, for us, anything that makes high voltage that can kill you.
Yeah, big transformers, big
Yeah.
mains transformers. Those, one mistake and you die instantly.
Yeah.
I think it's either gravity or the propellers for me.
Okay, so speaking of things to not try at home, you guys obviously play with dangerous stuff for a living every single day. On Mythbusters, we have a rule that we don't ever show the recipe of the secret sauce for explosions. What do you do to keep the audience at home safe and not quite repeating what you do, especially the kids?
Well, for example, for me, the stuff I make are so simple and repeatable that doesn't even need my instructions. Somebody can go try them and get hurt. So I do them in my videos and I get hurt. So hoping that people see it and don't repeat the same thing or at least know how they can get hurt. Hopefully.
Interesting strategy, yeah.
Yeah.
Just put yourself on the line, I like it.
Right, yeah. I sacrifice myself for you.
Well, for me, people requested plans for the ultralights, but I barely trust them myself, so I tend not to share those. I might be breaking the rule with one of the next airplanes I design, where I have the audience design the airplane for me, which could be very, 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 very bad.
no.
But I think I might do some sort of like open source work with the new airplane design as far as like FEA calculations and fun stuff like that. But for the most part, I just don't really share the dangerous blueprints for these death traps because I barely remember how I built it myself.
That's opposite of me because I often do show like my schematics, but I mean I'm upfront about it. It's like you touch it, you die. That's it, So it's like there's really not much to like. It's about as simple as it gets, right? So it's like, and you can see how like scary some of this stuff is. So like you wouldn't want to mess with it. I don't even know why I mess with it sometimes. So it's
Well, it's fun,
Yeah, it is fun. I will admit that it's very fun.
It's not generally something I'm too concerned about, with the big stuff, because they need to have like 25,000 pounds of equipment to hurt themselves on
Sure.
the big
Right.
stuff. But simple things like, hey, wear a mask when you're grinding things so you don't get lung cancer. I like to encourage that people do that by wearing it myself, because I'm also not keen on that.
Yeah, that's not fun.
Well, if it was in my channel, I would get lung cancer, so other people would.
Big brain move. Yeah, very nice.
Good that I'm not metalworking, I guess.
So I like this a lot of leading by example. So what's the next biggest, scariest thing you're contemplating building? Little bit of spoiler alerts for the audience.
Well, I always wanted to make something fly, like one of those quadcopters, but something that I can ride on. I tried to get some motors for it, but then the manufacturer said, "Hey, we don't sell it to you because it's not made for flying people."
But
So-
you don't say that ever. I have connections there, and they're like, well, these are for agricultural drones. And I'm like, agriculture? You want to see the airframe?
Yeah.
With the seat in it?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well,
they-
like a sleigh-shaped one. I did that too. That was a bit of a death trap. I put my dad in that first, though.
Yeah.
He volunteered.
Yeah. How about you?
I mean, there's always a lot of things I want to mess with. Like I have a video about 100 car batteries. Well, I want several hundred more, But I think another fun one is I really would like to play with lightning. I think there's a lot of YouTubers that are talking about this, where you can shoot like a trailing wire rocket in a thunderstorm and get it to strike. I think that would be pretty fun. That would be interesting.
Yeah, it would be fun, especially if you are holding to the end of the wire.
Oh yeah, Ben Franklin style. Yeah, gosh, that was such a cool guy. Yeah.
Just last week, we were throwing around the idea of potentially making an enormous guillotine, like car-cutting guillotine, 2-inch plate blade. So maybe that happens one day.
And I think I kind of spoiled it in my last panel, but I want to do a cardboard airplane that I can sit in and fly in. I don't know if we're gonna fly to an event or something, but I'll probably just do an exhibition flight over water or something. Because it's not that dangerous. It's just a cardboard airplane that I can sit in.
Experimental aircraft.
Yeah.
That's like even like the professionally designed ones. That is an endeavor that is just like that has a body count. So like doing it.
You know, the laws of aviation are written in blood, but now they can be written on cardboard.
Oh my god.
Yeah, like if you get scared, you pee your pants, the cardboard gets wet, and then you fall off the plane.
Yeah, it's like the joke. You know, the propeller on the front of the airplane is just to keep the pilot cool so he doesn't sweat too much, but I can sweat and make the cardboard fall apart, and then I crash.
Exactly so.
Amazing. So we're actually going to open up to the audience a lot earlier in this panel because we know that you guys have a ton of questions. So as you guys line up to be able to do the Q&A, we'll have someone with a microphone that's waiting. I want to know, what's the one thing that you won't play with because it scares you a little too much? I'll start with Peter.
Me? Well, it's kind of funny because these two are here, but I will not play with electricity because I don't quite understand it, and I know it can kill you very, very, very fast. So I don't really play with high voltage stuff.
It's funny though because like I'm the exact opposite because I feel like electricity is like relatively straightforward, but like mechanical abominations, like you talk about a big metal lathe, that scares me, you know. But like electricity, I don't know. I feel like electricity is predictable.
Yeah, I did mechanical design once, and it almost killed me because my Jacob's ladder fell on me. I made such a poor base.
Mechanical design.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I'm still scared of using those microwave oven transformers, but yeah.
I am also terrified of electricity.
Yeah. So we win. Yay.
This is a very good panel. We have like polar opposites here as far as what we're terrified of.
I feel like we have a competition for next year. It's like machines versus electrical is going to happen for the most dangerous panel.
Well, I guess it means that when we don't know what we are dealing with, we get hurt.
I like it a lot. So I can see that we have some people lined up. So let's go ahead with our first question.
Have any of you ever bought something and wondered how is this legal to buy or even sell in the United States of America or anywhere?
Absolutely. I started blacksmithing when I was a child, and as a child I was able to purchase oxypropane torches, hundreds of pounds of propane, oxygen. I mean, it was shocking the things I could purchase as an actual child. And I'm very grateful for it, because here I am.
And I mean, me getting 800 pounds of sodium metal as a 12-year-old, that was pretty wild.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I still see a lot of things on Amazon and Alibaba or whatever that they sell. I don't think they have any standards on them. Like, for example, those things that you just plug into the outlet, two exposed wires, put it in your tea to warm it up. Who in the world? So, like, why do we even...
So, I tried to buy one. I think those really got, like, scrubbed and canceled from the internet, because they're hard to buy those now. What a shame.
Yeah.
I want one.
Well, you still can buy one of those shower heads that you can plug into your outlet.
Suicide shower,
yeah. Yeah, so, yeah.
I don't know. I'm drawing a blank here, so I'm going to have to pass on this question.
Okay, next question. Thank you so much.
A lot of the stuff I build, pretty much all of it, is very homemade. When did you start transitioning to more professional equipment?
That's
professional. What are you talking about?
Not me.
Yeah, not me either. Are you doing professionally?
No, I don't have any professional
Probably
equipment.
the most professional guy here. Well, I mean,
I don't know if I'm there yet, but as soon as I could afford it, I was buying the best machines that I could afford to be able to make better things.
Yeah, I mean, like for example, I always had a day job before I did YouTube, right? So at work we had good equipment, but when I started doing YouTube, I always borrowed from work, and at some point, thanks God, when I got bigger, they started giving me free tools to play with. Still not professional. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there. Don't mind the camera, sorry. But I have a question for all four of you. So, what is the closest you have gotten yourself possibly lethally harmed, close to death? Sorry. And is it something you posted or have not posted?
Okay, I'll let you in on a secret. The fourth airplane I built, I put the wing bolts in. They're bolts. Bolts have nuts that go on the other end. I took off without putting the nuts on.
Oh my gosh.
I'm supposed to use a checklist, and I'm very embarrassed about this, but I'll tell you about it. But the thing is, like, they didn't fall out at all. They didn't move at all because once they're under tension, you have to have a hammer and a ball peen to push them out. But I did a little hop down the runway, and I stopped. I'm like, oh, I forgot to put those bolts in. So that's very bad, very dangerous.
You got close to it.
But that's why I'm not a commercial pilot, by the way. I dropped out of that because I get task saturated too fast. So I stopped the commercial routine for me, and it's like, well, I'll just build my own homemade death traps from just me.
Well, for me, it's always the one story that I made this Jacob's ladder with the microwave oven transformer, and it has 2,000 volts of how many watts? I don't know, a ton of, it cooks your food, you know. So I made it with that, and I made a mechanical design, which I don't know how to do, and it was top heavy, and it fell on me, and everything was in slow motion, right? So you see it falling down on you, and you know, okay, I was thinking, this has like 2,000 volts. I probably shouldn't let it touch my chest because my heart is there, you know. So I better grab it with both hands. Which basically is the same thing. The damn high voltage doesn't care about your skin. It breaks your skin, goes through your low resistance tissue, and so it went right through me. I was like, and the good thing is that like my stupid wires were so loose when I got contracted. All the wires were disconnected, and fortunately I was saved. But I like you can see, I posted it actually, you can see it, of course, yeah. And when you see it, if you stop on the right frame, you can see my skin blowing off from there. So that was the worst one. I was very lucky. I stopped my video, I went to lay on the floor and counted my blessings and then continued the rest of the video the next day. But yeah, that was the closest I came to.
I think we all have to count our blessings with what we do.
Yeah, I think I have to. Yeah.
And surprisingly, I really haven't had any like near-death experiences with what I do, which is kind of shocking. I guess one time.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I guess. You know, I haven't had any big shocks though. I haven't had any big shocks. When I was a kid, I was building a mortar with my friend and to launch some homemade fireworks, and I broke a big rule on that you're not supposed to use PVC pipe for that because it like fragments. Sure enough, our mortar got jammed in the tube and operated in pipe bomb mode. And I remember this thing popping and this piece of PVC just going by like light speed, you know, going by my head. And I'm like, oh, that's why you don't do that. But other than that, like, I really haven't had anything that crazy happen to me.
I'm kind of in a similar boat with the blacksmithing itself. The tools, they haven't really got close to getting me. Slips, trips, and falls is obviously a big hazard just for everybody in everyday life. When I was a kid, fell through one of my workshop roofs and kind of caught myself right here. Very scary. Whew. Managed to clamber back up on the roof and like kind of look in the hole in the roof that I've just made. And underneath is a bucket of scrap with like a bunch of 3/8 round bar poking up out of it. And it would have just been a really miserable, slow, painful death. But it didn't happen.
Makes for good content though.
Oh, of course.
It actually really does. I know you didn't ask me, but I'm going to jump on this one because I actually died on national television. The last episode of Mythbusters The Search, I drowned and had to they didn't show the actual like getting brought back. They just showed the drowning and then me jumping off of an Olympic-sized diving board afterwards happily. So definitely use your life vests the way you're supposed to and don't try to walk on water with them. That's all I have to say. So great question.
Thank you. And I don't know if I'm allowed to do a second. It's just only for Styro. Did you ever figure out the testosterone level thing?
Yeah, so I got recently I had this so I had my testosterone levels measured because I can't grow much facial hair, and then it turns out they're like completely off the charts, which is astonishing. And so I've been through this whole thing, this whole medical nightmare, and then I had a liver biopsy on Monday, and I had the pleasant experience of having 4 little pieces of my liver ripped out while I was awake, and I didn't actually get diagnosed with anything, but like what was found isn't like super bad, so it's actually really good news. So thank you.
He's too manly to grow beards.
Yeah, I guess so.
He has too much testosterone.
So my question is targeted at all of you, which is when you're making a video, you shot some of it, and then you get into a point in the project you didn't expect, you thought you could do all of it, right? And when you get to a point, you're like, oh, I'm gonna have to try that. I don't want to do that. But then you're like, I'm in too deep, or the video needs to go out this week, or like, has that kind of sort of thing ever happened?
Oh, I have a good one. So I built this. I built one of the most powerful vacuum tube Tesla coils in the whole world. And in my video, I wanted to touch the outlet directly without any protection. And I fire this thing up, and I see this like just hellacious arc shoot off this thing. I mean, shoots like 6 feet in the air. It sounds like a substation transformer just like exploding. And I want to touch this thing, and I know the theory says that I'm not going to die by touching it. But to actually make the leap of faith and apply the theory to go and touch it, that was pretty terrifying. It took me a while to actually go in and touch it, and I survived. But don't ever do that. It was so stupid.
Yeah, for me, if I ever find something new, that will take much longer than when I have to upload. I guess I'll just wrap the video up quickly and make new content out of it if I can. Otherwise, depends. Like if it is an essential part of the video I'm making already, then I have to extend it. Which is why it is good to be a YouTuber without any deadlines. You just make it anytime you want. Just stretch it as long as you want to make it as good as you want for the audience and do it.
It's a blessing and a curse, though, because then you can always just keep going.
I don't know why some YouTubers bound themselves with deadlines.
It's usually just sometimes sponsors that push those deadlines, but a lot of times I have a lot of pull with that. But it's a lot of self-imposed pressure to like keep posting content. But sometimes it's like some content needs to be fully flushed out. If it's a really good video of mine, I will push the brakes on it, redo whatever needs to be done. Yeah. Unlike the lawnmower plane, which just went out, that I was trying to trim the tops of the trees with that, but I ran out of time to complete with that one and had to go out.
I had a similar an experience with this recently because I purchased a 1915 steam hammer without ever having seen it, and it arrived in parts, and I started filming the first episode, and I stopped in the middle of what I was doing to question why on earth I would make this decision, because I thought that there was no way that I had the skills to do this. I'm still not sure if I have the skills to do it, but I'm 10 episodes deep, so, hopefully in another 20 we'll find out.
Done is better than perfect, right?
Make sure the camera is rolling.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for answering.
You're welcome.
My question's for Sty or Pyro. What is the top 3 most dangerous recipes you found in the chemical formulary? And are you planning to make them, or have you already?
Oh gosh, I got another.
I think we have to ask him first. What does he need the recipe for? What do you want to do with
what
the recipe?
diabolical things are you planning with this?
Nothing. I was just curious.
Are you going to write this to your FBI agent? Nothing.
I'm thinking of at least the ones I've talked to. There are recipes that I found that I actually didn't put in the video because there's no way I can post it. But I'm kind of drawing a blank on those right now. And there's a lot of really flagrant uses of cyanide, just real, killing ants with it, or just filling your whole house with cyanide to kill rats or whatever, and just fill it all with, fill it with cyanide and let gas just kill every single thing that might possibly take a crash, and then just air it out, and then you let your kids back inside. I mean, there's that kind of stuff in there too. But and then I guess it also depends on there's the acute danger of things exploding at the wrong time, but then there's also using mercury salts and lead salts or thorium or even thallium salts, which are just so toxic. They just use it like it's salt, and it's just. I couldn't even tell you what the worst one in there is right now, but there's a lot of them.
Is getting one on eBay for my chemistry teacher for about $100 a good deal?
Well, I got mine for free from the garbage, but there are free PDFs online of like the whole first 10 volumes if you just want to read them. But yeah, if you're gonna buy a first volume edition, they're gonna be expensive, and it's because of me. They were cheap before I posted those videos.
May I ask whose garbage it was?
It was.
He has a purpose for it.
Yeah, it was just the garbage at my school. They were just clearing out a bunch of old books, and I'm, of course, like, oh, anytime I see stuff in the garbage, I'm like, ooh, like free stuff, you know?
I mean, you can dig into his garbage to probably find a ton of good stuff in there.
Oh, you won't in mine.
Why did your school have that book?
I mean, I was, I did a chemistry degree for some reason, and this was the chemistry department, and they've been around a long time, so they were clearing out the old books and filling with new trash.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I feel like I'm in a tribunal. Bright lights in front of me, got a microphone, you're speaking real loud. For Electro Boom, do you like getting electrocuted? Because
It may sound like it, but no, actually, I hate it so much. For some reason, it's even more painful to me than a lot of other people I've seen. Like, I made this magic wand. It hurts me so much, but I gave it to someone. He was just zapping himself like he was taking a shower. La 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 la. Just didn't care. So no, it's pretty bad. So every time I want to like have a shock in my videos, typically I script it so that I know when it's gonna happen. I plan it so it actually doesn't shock me, and I try to act it out so that it seems like I shocked it. And a lot of times people in the comments say, oh, look at that idiot. He doesn't know how to use electronics. And that's when I know I did it right.
Thank you.
And for Styropyro, your cancer ray, how long do you think that would take to be lethal?
Oh gosh, that's a hard one, because I mean, like, if you think about like using tanning booths or something, some people come down with melanoma in their 20s or even earlier, and other people can just cook in the sun all day and never have a problem. That's a hard one to quantify.
Thank you.
Hey everybody. So look, danger is sexy, but how do we keep people's dangerous passions alive without releasing a rogue maker army, guys? What do we do?
Well, I mean, sorry about that, but I think we let them loose already. Well, the thing is that, like, a lot of times, people will try stuff, right? So I guess what we do is to show everything that can go wrong and right about what we are trying to do so they can keep themselves safe. I guess at the end of the day, you can't stop people from doing stupid stuff, but, well, we try.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Welcome.
Hello.
Hey.
Yeah, so I think, at least personally, I believe that the best way to learn and grow as a person is to throw yourself into a project that you're not familiar with or you have no idea how to finish. So I was wondering what projects like that you guys might have.
Like for other people to try or our
No,
own?
you personally. What projects have you taken on knowing it's going to be overwhelming and that it was just crazy?
The crusty lobster boat I bought. It was $43,000 what I paid for that boat. I think it was gonna be $10,000 to finish it. It is now $50,000 over budget, and it's still not in the water. But it's a commercial boat, and I'm gonna do ocean research with it. Someone said it was like the dollar store version of like a nice research yacht, and I like that title, the dollar store research vessel. So we're going with that. So Star Power, we can see how many lead acid batteries we need to charge a reef, and do all that stuff. When this thing gets done.
Lead acid's great.
Yeah, I think like the most overwhelming project. Well, usually, if you have seen my videos, they are low quality content in general. I try not to pick up something too complicated so I can finish it on time. But I guess the hardest one I picked was the firefly lantern I made. It's like a you have seen it in cartoons that you take a like a jar, a glass jar, fill it with fireflies, and it glows your environments. So I try to make that out of electronics, which actually I put it in the Creator Museum. If you want to look at it, it's there. But yeah, that took me like 3 months to make on the background while I was doing other videos. So yeah, that was the hardest one for me.
I'll be short, but For me, it was the Soviet fire death machine. It's a century-old circuit, and it was witchcraft from the beginning to the end.
As I was saying earlier, it's currently this steam
Get
power
down.
hammer, knowing nothing about steam, knowing very little about how to restore it. Just have to take one step in front of the next and had to get started by, maybe I'll clean something. Maybe I'll polish something. Then eventually, stuff starts happening, but it's terrifying.
Yes, thank you. And with that, you guys have shared so many dangerous memories with us today and so much to look forward to. Everyone stick around. We have our miners panel coming up next with the legendary Potato Ozman. But we would like to actually get a selfie with you all if you guys want to be part of it. So
Let's do a
everyone
selfie.
come together.
Ready for the selfie? You are on the picture. Oh, I have to put the microphone.
Selfie mic.
I'm still talking. You're coming. There you go. You're in. Say cheese. That was great.
Hey.
Spices are one of the most important ingredients we use every time we cook, except the way we are taught how to use them is completely backwards. For example, have you ever found yourself wondering questions like, what flavor do spices even provide? How do people come up with different spice blends? Why do some recipes call for a spoonful of paprika but just a pinch of cinnamon? Is there a difference between adding spices at the beginning of cooking versus at the end? And why do some cuisines use a ton of spices while others barely use any? Well, in this video, we are going to cover the 5 mistakes that most home cooks make when trying to learn spices. For each section, we are going to cover why the mistake holds back your learning of spices. 2, I'll give you an experiment that will help accelerate your understanding. And lastly, I'm going to point out several real-life examples showing how to apply what we are learning. And I have placed these mistakes in this order on purpose because each subsequent one builds on our understanding from the prior mistake. So let's start with mistake number 1. Salt and spices are almost always used together when we cook, and generally we refer to them as seasonings. However, this can be confusing because salt and spices affect different parts of the flavor equation and react completely different when we cook with them. At a high level, these 6 properties can explain the flavor of food: taste, aroma, texture, sight, physical, and the human element. And as we learned in the salt deep dive, salt primarily affects taste. Pure sodium chloride is odorless, and when controlled by weight and fully dissolved, all sodium chloride will taste the same. Now, many people say that salt enhances the flavor of the ingredients we add it to, and I've said it myself too in the past, but that's not actually how salt works. Salt does not chemically react with anything when we cook with it. It is a stable mineral, and there's basically just 2 levers we can pull on. First, how much salty taste we add by weight, and second, how much that salty taste is in balance with the other 4 tastes: sweet, sour, bitter, and umami. So when we add salt to a chicken breast, for example, the only thing we can really do is make it taste more or less salty. And I showed this in a test from the deep dive where I cooked chicken with 0 to 4% salt. And the key takeaway from that test is that salt acts predictably and linearly when it comes to taste. So when I went from 1 to 2% salt in that test, it tastes twice as salty to me, and so on up to 4%. Now we're gonna do a similar test except with spices later in this video, but I'll tell you up front, spices do not work in this predictable linear fashion. Spices tend to react with all sorts of things when we cook with them and change a lot depending on how they are used. And this is because spices from a chemical level are infinitely more complex than salt is. Spices are made up of multiple volatile oils and aromatic compounds that the around 400 smell receptors in our olfactory epithelium can detect. For example, cinnamaldehyde is the main flavor compound found in cinnamon, but it is also made up of linalool, eugenol, caraphyllene, which all hit different receptors, creating the composite smell we know as cinnamon. And unlike sodium chloride, which is very stable, the multiple aromatic compounds that make up an individual spice are complex and interact with heat, air, light, water, and fat. For example, fresh cracked pepper smells different than toasted black peppercorn and also smells different from black pepper I ground up a day ago. On the flip side, you can heat salt to 1,000 degrees, you can leave it out for thousands of years, and it's still going to taste salty. And to really understand the difference between what salt and spices do for yourself, I highly recommend redoing this experiment in the salt deep dive, where I took 4 portions of 100 grams of chicken breast. To one, I added absolutely nothing. To the second, I added 1% or 1 gram of salt by weight. To the third, I added 1% or 1 gram of the spice mix. And then to the fourth, I added 1% of salt and 1% of the spice mix, and then cooked them up. And the practical reason why understanding the difference between what spices can do versus what salt does is that we can completely transform the aroma and thus the flavor of the food we are making by simply experimenting with 1, the unique mix of spices we use, and 2, the unique amounts chosen for each spice. For example, this is exactly what I did in a recent Cookwell video where I took 2 chicken breasts, added salt to them, then on one breast I added a bunch of black pepper, and the other I made a spice mix with garlic powder, cumin, paprika, and chili powder. The black pepper chicken breast went on a sandwich with bacon and a ranch-style dressing, while the cumin mix went on a Southwest chicken salad. And the reason why there are unlimited amounts of dishes and recipes around the world is because this concept of choosing unique spices, varying the amounts of those spices, applying the spices to different foods, and changing how you cook with them can be done for not thousands of different dishes, but millions and in theory billions of different dishes. And in making this video, 2 of my biggest realizations were that 1, there are so many amazing spice combinations and recipes that are yet to be discovered and created, and 2, no one on this earth is truly a master of spices, nor will they ever be. And I can explain why using that old combination formula that many of us may have learned in middle school or high school. If I had to choose 3 spices from a set of 20 jars, there are 1,140 unique combinations that I can make. Now, that's if I'm using the same amount for each one. However, if for each of those spices I can choose up to 4 different amounts with repetitions allowed, this means we have 4 times 4 times 4, or 64 amount selections. And if we take our 1,140 spice rubs times the 64 amount selections, we now have 72,960 total combinations. And if we take those 72,000 combinations, which can be applied to 3 different proteins and paired with 2 different vegetables, we are literally cooking now and have 437,760 unique dishes that can be made simply by choosing 3 spices from a set of 20. Now, what if I told you there was a way that you could begin to understand all the differences in the spices of those recipes without needing to make 400,000 combinations? And this brings us to mistake number 2. If you want to learn how to use spices, you need to stop following recipes and spice rubs and instead start cooking with individual spices. Now, before we jump in, the quick takeaways from this first part are: 1, salt primarily provides taste, and that sodium chloride will not chemically react, and it acts fairly linearly and predictably when we use it. Spices, on the other hand, primarily provide aroma, and the volatile oils and aromatic compounds in spices will chemically react and change quite a bit depending on how they are used, and these compounds are what our nose can detect to give us tons of depth and complexity. Now, some spices can provide other elements of flavor too. For example, turmeric often turns the sight of dishes to a yellow color because it has a very strong pigment. And a spice like black pepper, while it does have a unique aroma, one of the reasons why we like it is because black pepper causes that tingle on your tongue. And this is a physical reaction caused by the piperine in black pepper, which binds to your pain receptors on your nerve endings. And these are just a couple examples of the things you will start to learn about the flavor of spices if you cook with them individually. And the main problem with only following recipes or using spice rubs is that it's more like memorizing the note cards rather than truly learning the material. Now, can you still get a good grade on Spanish Chef if you memorize the material? Yeah, I mean, plenty of us have done it. However, when we go to a Spanish-speaking country, we quickly find out that we don't really know anything. And it's a similar idea when it comes to spices. Individual spices can contain dozens or sometimes hundreds of aroma compounds. Coriander, for example, gets the floral notes from linalool, woody notes from pinene, fresh notes from cymene, and citrus notes from limonene. And when you use a spice alone, you'll find you can detect these subtle differences in a single spice. It's almost like a spice mix within a spice mix. However, when coriander is used as one spice of typically 5 to 7 in a garam masala, you could try tasting and using that garam masala 10,000 times, or you could ask ChatGPT, hey, what does the coriander provide in garam masala? And ChatGPT will give you an answer, but the problem is AI has never smelled anything, and similarly, if you've never cooked with coriander on its own, you will not be able to recognize what it is really providing or why it may pair well with something like cumin. However, the reason why smelling, tasting, and cooking with single spices can be so powerful when it comes to learning is that you are creating a reference library in your brain. Our perception of flavor is comparative, meaning we detect flavors by comparing it to something else we've smelled or tasted, or by noticing what's different from what we are used to. For example, have you ever seen those tasty notes on a bag of coffee like cherry, milk chocolate, or mango? However, when you drink it, you're like, well, it's a good coffee, but I wouldn't say it reminds me of cherry. Now, the person who came up with those particular flavor notes is not wrong, they just likely have a different reference point than you do. The Specialty Coffee Association has this coffee wheel with all the aromas and individual testing jars they use to identify them. So they may be using that cherry aroma as the reference, while you are thinking of sweet maraschino cherries or maybe fresh tart cherries from the tree. And it's kind of weird to think about, but this is why two people can be drinking the exact same coffee or eating the exact same dish and describe the flavor of it differently. And this is why learning spices is so difficult. I could sit up here all day and list the key aroma compounds in a bunch of different spices, but the words don't mean anything unless you have a reference point. And here's a simple experiment you can do to start building your brain's spice library. Take out some potatoes or any basic vegetable or protein and add some salt and oil to each. Then pick out 3 spices. These can be completely at random, or you can pick 3 spices that you commonly use together. I chose coriander, cumin, and allspice. I've never used allspice on potatoes, but we're gonna try it. Then separate the potatoes by each spice, roast them in the oven, and let's first give them a taste individually, then we'll start mixing them together. Okay, let's give these a taste. I'm actually gonna move them off to the side because you can actually smell all the smells that kind of are coming up and hitting my nose. So I first wanna focus on just one. Okay, gonna give them a quick taste one by one. I mean, I love cumin. Coriander. And something I have never tried alone, allspice. All right, I'm gonna try stacking these together now. Wow, that's super cool. Coriander and allspice. Coriander and cumin. So doing tests like this is very fun, and it almost melts your brain a little bit. What you'll learn is that, yes, individually, kind of like I mentioned, each spice is much more complex when it is on its own. There are these subtle differences you can pick up. However, when you try pairing two of them together, you do lose some complexity of the individual spice, but then the new spice that you've added kind of comes in to compete with something in there. And in the case of allspice, I've never had it alone, and I'm kind of realizing it's a little bit more powerful than the cumin and the coriander, which to me is probably why it is used generally as like a supporting or a lesser spice, but it's really quite good just on its own, I must say. And then the second thing, now that you taste these and kind of are smelling those aromas of each of them, it forces you to kind of ask yourself, like, what would I pair this with? Like, if I needed to pair this with like chicken and like a salad or a form factor, how would I construct the other elements of the dish based on what I'm smelling here? And yeah, it is really cool just to kind of start building this spice reference library by simply using a single spice. And if you're going, Ethan, I really don't have the time to do a bunch of different potato experiments at home. Well, that's okay. You can also make normal, great tasting meals with a single spice and still further your learning. For example, recently on the Cookwall channel, I sliced up a flank steak and added salt along with the ground up cumin, and that's it, nothing else. Now, the beef obviously is quite good, and like I said, you'll realize cumin has much more complexity on its own than you think if you've never tried it alone. However, to make it into a full meal, I put that cumin beef on some pita with hummus, feta, dill pickles, some pickled beets, which add clove in the liquid, some fresh diced onion, and a spritz of lemon on top. And as I mentioned in the video, part of the reason why this dish is so enjoyable is because it's really easy to tell what every ingredient is providing. There is a reason why I said this is legitimately the 5th time I'm having some variation of it. It's so easy to like pick out all the individual elements. Like, you get the cumin beef, the nice protein in there. You get both types of pickles. You get the creaminess from the hummus. You get that salty kick from the feta. And then you get that little bit of the acidity from the lemon juice and that slight fresh crunch and pungent bite from the onion. And it's just like such an enjoyable eating experience. So like, not from just like a taste aroma, but the textures, the temperature contrast. So if you start cooking with individual spices and then go back to more complicated recipes and spice blends, you have new reference points and will start noticing, oh, it's the paprika giving that bit of smokiness. It's the coriander giving that floral note. Or I feel like cumin would be a nice addition for some of those warmer spice notes. And I know there's this sentiment, if you look around in the online comment sections, that a lot of people tend to equate the number of spices with how good the dish must be. So like 3 spices is definitely better than 1, 5 is better than 3, and you know, KFC uses 11 herbs and spices, so they've got to have the best fried chicken. But in reality, there's no correlation with the number of different spices you use with how much enjoyment you get out of it. In fact, a lot of the classic spice mixes and recipe combinations that we know today are purely a result of the geographic availability of spices, global spice trade, and cooking trial and error over hundreds of years. Even today, there are countless variations of garam masala, but the only reason this exists in the first place is because someone hundreds of years ago was probably just like, well, what happens if I add one more spice, and one more spice, and one more spice? And then we come up with a variation of garam masala. So the next time you grab a chicken breast or some vegetables for roasting, instead of trying to choose 3 or 4 spices at once, start with just one that you've been curious about what it does, and then you can use those references as building blocks to create your own spice blends. Okay, so if you're gonna start using single spices, the next biggest mistake that most home cooks will make is not using more spices than people tell them to. As we discussed in mistake number 1, salt acts predictably and linearly, so it's very easy to hit this clear threshold that says to our brain, hey, this dish is too salty and the dish is basically ruined. However, when it comes to using spices, there is a lot more margin for error than you would have been led to believe by the very specific and precise measurements that a lot of recipes have. The aroma we get from spices tends to simulate a graph with diminishing returns because those volatile oils and compounds react with heat, light, air, water, fat, and they change over time. And this is another area where I think recipes really hold home cooks back because most measurements are likely on the early side of this graph and they tend to keep you there. Like if we see that a recipe calls for a half a teaspoon or 1 gram of garlic powder, our brain thinks, well, I better not go any higher than that or the dish will be ruined. And as I alluded to earlier, the person who made that particular recipe with garlic powder could not have possibly tested all the different amounts of garlic powder or tried to establish the minimum and maximum bounds that could work for this recipe. It's just not feasible to do all this testing. In fact, I would argue that in the majority of recipes, you could double or triple the amount of spices in the ingredient list and it will turn out completely fine. In many cases, you may even go, oh, this is way more aromatic and flavorful. I actually did a quick test with a marinated chicken where I added increasing amounts of a za'atar spice mix to make some marinated chicken and cooked it over the stove. 100 grams of chicken, 2.5 grams of spice mix, 105, 107.5, and 110 grams of za'atar. So let's give them a taste and look at the differences. Okay, so if we even added 5 grams of salt to 100 grams of chicken, this chicken would be completely oversalted and we'd be like, well, I'm not gonna eat that. However, as we'll see with spices, it's much different and it kind of, the diminishing returns effect is really kind of what's going on here. Let's move up. And as we move up here, kind of one of the secondary benefits is that we're able to get a little bit of a spice crust on the 7.5 and the 5 grams, and that's just really quite nice. And again, there's definitely more aroma, but it's not this very clear like, ooh, this is twice as much as the other one, or it's very different. It's just like, oh, there's just more aroma to it. And then even all the way up at the high end, 10 grams of spice for just 100 grams of food, quite a lot of spice rub to put on something like this. And again, in no way is it ruined. I think I would maybe lean slightly between like 5 to 7.5 in this particular instant, but there's so many variables out there. But it really goes to show that you have so much more margin for error, and really as a home cook, you should kind of have the bias to use more spices than you think you should, rather than using just what the recipe says or slightly under. And this just really explains why on the Cookwell channel, I've adopted the mindset of adding more and more spices than I think to all of my dishes. And I've yet to find a single time where I'm like, oh, I added way too much and completely ruined the dish. Now, have I had instances where I'm like, ooh, maybe that was a little bit too much of a certain spice? Absolutely. But this is how you start to learn. For example, in that Southwest chicken I made, I added a really spicy chili powder that ended up kind of overpowering the cumin and onion powder more than I would have preferred. Cayenne and other chili powders have capsaicin in them, which trigger pain receptors in our tongue that relay to our brain. And in this case, I just felt like it was a bit too much. So next time, I'm making a note to dial back the amount of that chili powder. Also, instead of regular paprika, I think a smoked paprika might have been a better choice to round out the aroma mix. And my point is, how can you truly understand what a spice does if you've never used more than a recipe says or what someone has told you to do? And by having this mindset, there is actually a big secondary benefit that you get as a home cook, and that is you'll use up your spices quicker. Another big difference between restaurants and home cooks is that restaurants typically buy very fresh spices and then use them up quickly because they are making the same dishes over and over. However, at home, that's not how we operate. Put your hand up if you have a spice jar that is over a year old, or let me know in the comments what your oldest spice jar is. We've all got at least one. The point is, if you're using a 2-year-old jar of ground cumin for your Tuesday taco night seasoned beef, it's changed and mellowed out over time, so you should probably be using double or triple the amount anyway to try to get closer to the effect of a fresh jar. Also, another little tip, whenever you are out buying a spice that you know you're not going to use that often, I would recommend buying the whole version. For example, some of my whole spices are allspice, nutmeg, white peppercorns, cinnamon, cloves, and mustard seed. Then in other cases, I just generally like the intense aroma of some whole spices that I do use often, such as cumin seeds and black peppercorns, and then I also recently found these coarse chili pepper flakes that I can then crush up right before serving. And the key takeaway here is that you have a much higher margin for error than recipes would lead you to believe, so try using more than you think you should. In general, the longer the cooking time and the larger piece of food you are making, the more spices you can safely add. For example, the reason why barbecue typically involves heavy amounts of spice rubs is that 1, there's a really long cooking time that mellows out the spices over time, and secondly, those spices you do add cannot diffuse inside the meat like salt does. So that exterior crust better be very flavorful when you bite into it to make up for the unseasoned interior. Now on the flip side, if you are adding a spice at the very end of cooking or even as a garnish, you'll typically want to use much less. And this brings me to mistake number 4, only using spices at the beginning of cooking. Many of us home cooks learn to toss in spices at the beginning of cooking, and that's generally it. But it is equally as important to experiment with when you are adding spices, because depending on when you add spices, it can completely transform a dish's aroma, complexity, and depth. Again, there are no rules here on what is best, but in general, there are 4 moments when you can think about adding spices. And number 1 is before cooking. Before cooking, you can try toasting your spices before you grind them up. Toasting spices generates new flavor compounds via the Maillard reaction, and a toasted spice will taste different than an untoasted one, but one is not inherently better or worse. Sometimes the flavor of a toasted spice can be a really nice mix-up in a meal, but there's no general rule on when you should toast them or when you should not. It's all down to preference. The second moment you can add spices is at the beginning of cooking. This is the one we are most familiar with. Whether you're adding spices to some meat or cooking spices with your aromatics like onion and garlic, the spices that we add at the beginning of cooking create a base layer of aroma that infuses the whole dish. However, we can even add experimentation within this step. For example, blooming is the act of toasting spices in a fat in order to release their aromas. A lot of the volatile compounds that make up spices are fat soluble, meaning they can't be unlocked by water alone. Blooming is a very common step done in a lot of Indian cuisine, but you can apply this technique to all other recipes. For example, in this enchilada recipe that Brian made with me, he bloomed the paprika and chili powder in oil before making the rest of the enchilada sauce. The third moment we can add spices is during cooking. So sometimes in longer stew times or simmering, we want to slowly release the flavors of a particular spice. And there are plenty of recipes where we may add whole spices so those flavors slowly integrate and meld. Braises or stews are kind of classic examples of this. Then the fourth moment, and in my opinion, the most underrated time to add spices, is at the end of cooking. And I have been doing this a ton lately, almost every time I cook. For example, I've been loving this one coarse Aleppo pepper that I have, and here I added this to an Italian pasta as a final garnish, and these kebabs on top of the yogurt sauce. However, you can do this with any spice. In this beef rendang recipe, I added a toasted coconut powder at the end. In this chicken shawarma, I added some sumac and za'atar to the salad component, and I've even been adding spices when I'm just heating up leftovers. In this butter chicken snack wrap video, I made butter chicken that I obviously bloomed in butter with the aromatics when I was making the sauce, but after I portioned them in the fridge and heating them up in the microwave, I added some fenugreek and garam masala to give it some fresh life. And depending on what you were using, adding spices at the end of cooking can give it a little visual contrast, maybe a fresh punch of spicy pain, or a nice warming aroma. And similar to number 2, if you've only ever used cumin with a bunch of other spices instead of just on its own, you probably don't know what cumin's aroma is like at these 4 different moments. Whether it was toasted before cooking, whether it was bloomed in the beginning of a dish, whether the seeds were added during a long braised simmer, or if you freshly ground some and added a sprinkle to a salad. So now, if you understand the difference between what salt does and what spices do, you start cooking with single spices, you use more spices than you think you should, and change when you are adding spices, you are well on your way to truly understanding and learning what different spices do. But you could go through this entire video, and the biggest mistake of all would be the last one, being afraid to experiment. A lot of people today treat spice blends and recipes like this sacred or authentic formulas that you need to decode and figure out. But the truth is, nobody knew any of the science behind spices for most of human history. No one knew that the main aromatic compounds in cumin were cuminaldehyde, pinene, and thymine. No one was categorizing spices into families like the terpenes and the phenolics, or that the reason that cumin pairs well with coriander could be explained by science. Like I mentioned earlier, most of the dishes and spice combinations that are popular today are because people just tried stuff. Spices got traded around the world, people tasted them, they experimented with them, they adjusted, they passed things down, and over generations, trial and error is what turned into tradition. It's going to be really interesting to see 50, 100, 200, 1,000 years from now to see what combinations and recipes are popular, but it all depends on how much we experiment. Now, I do think it would be fun to do some deep dives into individual spices, and maybe we could try some uncommon use cases. Like, that potato test has got me thinking that instead of cinnamon rolls, allspice and cumin could make a very interesting aromatic mix. And if that sounds gross to you, it's probably because you, like me, I've only ever had cumin in savory dishes, and often it's surrounded by a lot of other spices that are only used in savory applications. You know, turmeric, chili powder, coriander, and those things. But I wonder what it would be like in a sweet glaze of a cinnamon roll. So maybe we'll try that one day. And I know we talked about a lot in this video, but truly, if you want to start learning spices, all you need to do the next time you're cooking, grab a chicken breast, grab some roasted vegetables, open up that spice cabinet, and just pick up one spice and just go out and experiment, see what happens, and then you can build your understanding and your spice reference library from there. Also, I'm going to link the Cookwell YouTube channel down below. Obviously, I mentioned it a ton in this video because what I'm kind of using it as, for now at least, is kind of testing and training myself to think about different concepts. And it's very helpful to kind of make these more meta videos that I can make on this channel by having that Cookwell channel where I'm just kind of trying stuff. I'm using up ingredients I have. I'm using spices in ways that I've never used them before. I'm trying to figure out how to use the fridge, the freezer, and the pantry more optimally. And it's given me a lot of more of these kind of meta video ideas. So in the meantime, while these videos take quite a bit longer, if you want to check out that channel, you can. And also check out cookwell.com, where we're starting to break down a lot of this science and fundamentals that we talk about in this videos, because I want a resource eventually that can be very rigorous and science-based that we can use to learn more about cooking. Because the more questions I ask, the more I realize we all know so little when it comes to cooking. You know, most of things are just kind of trial and error and passed down, and like, no one's really a master of cooking at all. And it's just, I think for me, what is fun about it the most is learning, understanding, experimenting, and you never know what you'll find. So anyway, that will wrap it up for me in this one. I will catch you all in the next one. Go experiment with some spices, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace, y'all.
I can't see what I'm doing. Oh, none of my bumpers are here. None of my bumpers are here. Alice. Oh my god.
Have you ever loved a pair of socks so much that you wore them out to the point that you could feel the bare floor underneath your feet? I have. I absolutely love foxes, and someone gifted me this beautiful pair of foxy socks, and I have worn them so often that they are full of holes at the toe. I cannot bear getting rid of them because I love them so much, and it gave me the idea to look into some of my vintage knitting books to see if there is something that I can do to bring them back to life and not have such cold feet when I'm wearing them. I have these two vintage knitting books published in the UK in the late 40s, which is a time of rationing, so a lot of the patterns were wool-wise, and they include an entire section at the end, basically leaning into the make, do, and mend, because that was what was necessary when you had clothing and wool rationing. And there's some really great examples in here. There's also some ideas of how to make like dresses bigger that you or your children have outgrown, what to do with felted garments. Let me know. I'm kind of interested in trying out some of these other tricks, but what really caught my eye at the very end is fixing your socks. I think a very popular way of mending socks, or at least one that people have heard of, is darning. And I do have a darning mushroom, or I also have a darning egg, but the fabric that creates is a little bit uncomfortable. It's not as comfortable as the original knitted fabric. And my problem is that not only are my toes wearing out, but my heels are about to go. So I'd have large sections of darned areas of my socks, especially the sections that I like to be the most comfortable, and I don't want them to feel a little uncomfy. So what is recommended here is to re-knit the heel and the foot. Sometimes they have you re-knit the entire foot, like from here down, but I want to preserve this patterning on the foot, and so I'm going to follow the vintage idea of re-knitting just the toes. And then there's no holes yet, but it's basically just asking to go. I think I need to rework the heels as well. I have no idea if this is going to work. In these vintage manuals, they even recommend hand knit socks. The problem with these machine-made socks, especially these modern machine-made socks, is that the gauge is tiny. So I have no idea if I'm going to be able to find needles that work and yarn that's going to work for this type of gauge. So step one, let's see if I have some yarn that I can use to re-knit the heels and toes. So I'm back with some of my options, and the smallest, thinnest yarn that I have that is like knitting yarn that I bought for knitting is Knit Picks Alpaca Lace Weight. I think the contrast is cute. It would kind of match the white in the foxes. It's a very soft yarn as well, which I love, but even this lace weight yarn I think is at least 2 to 3 times thicker. But that led me to the thought of, well, if this is a commercially made sock, maybe commercially made yarn for commercial knitting might be best. So I started looking at the sweaters that I have collected and thrifted that are waiting to be unraveled. Unfortunately, I don't have any gray ones to show you. I do have a lot of gray sweaters, but they're all not close enough. I feel like if it's going to be gray, it's got to either be basically a match or enough of a contrast. And so many of them are close, but not close enough that I feel like it would look almost like a mistake. So instead I have found this like teal one. Teal blue greens are my favorite color. This is one of the smallest gauge of yarns that I can find. I was on the fence though about the color, and then I kept on digging through my stash until I found this sweater. It's this lovely moss green, and I just think that that color is perfect for this sock. To have like a contrast toe and heel in a moss green, I think is going to work out really, really well. Oh, and the other thing I didn't talk about is that I actually found my 6-0 needles. I'm gonna have to put up here exactly what that is in millimeters, but I have some, basically they're wire. It's just wire with pointed ends that aren't sharp, which is very useful. I mean, they're sturdier than wire, but that's how tiny they are. They aren't quite tiny enough. Like it's gonna be a little fiddly. I think they're the right size for this, but they're just like a touch big for this. So getting the stitches on the needles from this is gonna be, I might need to wear like 4 pairs of glasses to see what I'm doing. But I think step one, let's go unravel this sweater. So now after unwinding the sweater sleeve, I now have this lovely ball of yarn. It's actually way more yarn than I was thinking. We have my socks and I have the instructions. Let me read through the instructions really quickly. And I think I'm probably gonna need my needles and some scissors as well. So let me gather everything together. The instructions say to cut off the worn parts, pick up the stitches, and re-knit it. So I'm just gonna choose probably, let's do this sock first. There's my needle, here's my sock, and I'm gonna start by cutting, there's a seam across the toe, and I'm just gonna cut right below that seam. It's still going to be above the hole, but I don't want to cut it too close to the bit of the pattern that I want to save. This is terrifying. Oh, of course, I grabbed the scissors that I marked blunt. That's the toe cut off. We still have a little bit of the hole left. What's going to be a little bit difficult about this is that it looks like it was 2 strands of things knit together, like the original cotton and then an elastic. And so that makes it harder to unwind. I find that when I unwind sweaters, at the cuffs it's like this, and I stop unwinding at the cuffs because it's very difficult, it gets very tangled. Also, if you see that my hands are dyed, I just took a workshop on Ukrainian egg dyeing, which was really fun, but my hands are gonna be some fun colors, so please excuse that. Okay, so it might be best, because what I was hoping is that I could unravel a few of these strands, and then as I unravel, I can use that to mark where the stitch is, because I will say, the stitches are tiny. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to see them, but it's just not unraveling well, so I think the best thing that I can do is pick up the stitches now. I think it's about 2 hours later, but I've got everything on needles. It's not the most perfect, but I'm gonna do a round of knitting and just see how I did. I really went all out and picked up every stitch along the top of the foot, but that was taking so long. I just put a lifeline in on this one with a needle and thread, which was much easier on the bottom of it, and I'm just gonna knit as I see fit. So let's see how that goes. Can you see that? Round 1 is done. And if I keep on knitting at this gauge, I think I'm gonna be here until next Christmas. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna double up the yarn of the unraveled sweater, and I'm going to go up to my larger needle size and knit a lot of these together so I have a lot fewer stitches to work across, or else, like I said, I am never going to finish this. I have limited, aka cut in half, the amount of stitches on all of my needles, and I'm using thicker needles, which is much easier, but I'm realizing the fabric that I'm creating with the doubled up is a touch see-through. And so I went back to my yarn stash and I found this cone of green. It's not exactly a color match, but it's close enough, and I think it'll add enough volume to my stitches to close the gaps a little bit. And I think now it's just time to do a whole bunch of knitting before I get to the decreases, because I cut off the sock. Let me see if I can, where's the other one for comparison? Oh, I had to unravel all the way to the bottom of the foxes, so I have to knit this bit, that amount of length, before I start the decreases for the toe. So I'm gonna knit this much, and I will see you when I am done with that. I am at about that length on the tip of the sock, and now I have to do shaping. I'm gonna knit 2 together on both sides, here and here, every other row, until I get the same length as the toe that I cut off, and then I guess I do a grafting stitch together. So this is what it looks like right now. I am really enjoying how the color looks, and I think the fabric is also much sturdier now that I added that extra thread in there. I don't know if you can see the difference between the very bottom here and a little bit further on the top. There's just a little bit more substance to the fabric, which I think is just gonna hold up better over time. It's not gonna wear out quite as quickly as well. I guess I'm in for a whole bunch of knitting. Should I put you on time lapse, or should I just see you when I get to the grafting part? Maybe I'll just fast forward to when it gets to the grafting part, because then you don't have to look at my concentrating face in fast motion. So here we go, to the toe finishing. And the toe is done. I just have to graft these stitches together. I realized actually that I prefer to graft from the wrong side of the foot. So I'm gonna knit a few like waist rows with waist yarn. I figured out this technique from Dean and Bean's Simple Sock 2 videos, which I will link down below. And I just find it a much easier way to do, oh, oops, I had a needle in my hair, to do the grafting stitches than any other way. So I'm gonna do that. My hand is also starting to cramp. I think that I only have one more alteration in me. Either I can do the toe of this sock today or the heel of this sock. And I think I would rather have one fully altered sock than 2 partially altered socks. This is working out better than I thought it would. It is very fiddly in the beginning though. It took me longer to get all the stitches on the needle than it has to knit the toe really good. I've woven in all the ends. This is kind of the side view. Sorry, it got fully dark now, so I'm gonna take a second to turn on more of the lights so you can actually see something. I'm so happy. This toe looks so good. It fits really well. It's very comfortable. So I think I only have the time to do the heel right now. How are we going to make this heel? Because in a lot of hand knit socks, you might be wondering this, in a lot of hand knit socks do a heel flap with a gusset. So how do you replace just the heel without knitting all the rest of it? And I think what we're going to do is use what's called the afterthought heel, which is done where you knit a straight tube first, like this for your sock, and then you put in 2 lines, like you put in 2 lifelines kind of, and you cut that open, and then you knit to create the heel like this. So what I'm going to do first is I will put the lifelines in, which I'm going to then knit into because I found that an easier method than picking up all the loops. And then I'm going to cut that open and re-knit the heel. So I'll have a replaced heel. I will see you next when I've placed the 2 lifelines in the sock, and I'm getting ready to cut it open because that's a nerve-wracking one, always cutting into knitting. So I'll see you then, and hopefully with better lighting too, so you can see a little bit more of what's going on. Okay, so my lifelines are now placed in the sock. Can you see that in the green right there? And I'm going to go ahead and cut this heel away and start picking up and knitting. And this heel is going to be knit the same as this toe. So we're just putting kind of a toe on the heel. Oh gosh, I still have my blunt scissors. This is probably a terrible idea. Look at how flimsy that heel was. I just cut away. It's so worn out. I'm just gonna rip back some of this, pick up new stitches, and re-knit the heel. Should I fast forward this one? Maybe. Okay, I'll see you when the heel is done. And the heel is done. I can't believe how good it looks. I'm so excited. I'm really happy with the choice of color. It's really soft and it fits well, but it is also very, very late. So I'm gonna go ahead and see you in the morning so we can compare the fixed versus the not fixed sock and talk about exactly what we're gonna do next. So let's take a look at how this sock fits, how it looks, and how it compares to the worn out one really quickly. Good morning. It is the next day and I'm so happy with how all of this has turned out. Yes, I am still in my pajamas. Sorry. Just didn't feel all that good today, so we're staying in my pajamas kind of day. And to be honest, my hands are so sore. I have not worked on such small needles in so long. I think we're gonna have to put them down for a bit, which means that so far we've only redone 1 sock out of the 2 that need redoing. And when I feel like my hands are in better shape that I can tackle the other one, I'm not gonna do both the heel and toe in the same day. That was not the best call. I was just so excited with how they were turning out because number one, I was worried would they still fit? Because that's the biggest thing is I want these to be comfortable and I want to be able to wear them. And yes, they fit, they're comfortable. I love it. There's a slight thickness difference. It's a little bit thicker now in the toe and the heel, but that's the part that needs a little bit more cushion, at least for me when I walk. So it feels really good. There is no noticeable transition or seam line between the old fabric and the new. So I am overall incredibly pleased with how this has turned out. I also love the color. I feel like it really fits in there. Would I recommend that you do this? Tough for me to answer because I did on 1 sock and I'm 100% going to do it on another one. If you're going to do this, I would recommend doing it on a hand knit pair of socks because that gauge is something that is more easily knittable. The gauge of commercially made socks are insanity. So unless the socks are incredibly sentimental, like there's no way to replace them, they mean a lot to you. For me, these are a gift and I love them a lot. I could get another pair of Foxy socks, but not, you know, as a gift from that particular person. So they mean a lot to me. So I think it's worth it, but you do need specialty knitting needles or to file down your own wire in order to get small enough needles and small enough gauge to do it. I'm on the fence about recommending it. I personally wouldn't do it unless it were the last resort of a sentimental item because it is so fiddly. But now that I know how well this works, I think what's really nice is that I can use this for maybe other hand knit socks. I have some that I think are wearing out a little bit, or honestly the foot felted slightly because I didn't wash it properly one time. And so what I could do is I could actually unpick the toe and knit the foot a little bit longer so that those socks will fit me better. And I have some hand knit socks where I realize that I have to make a deep heel adjustment. And I've knit some socks before I knew that because I have a look at videos by Roxanne Richardson. She explains a lot about sock knitting and doing different adjustments. And I think we have similar adjustments that we need. And so she talks about that. So I need to do a deep heel adjustment. And I've hand knit socks before I knew that and they don't fit as well. But now I know that I can undo the heel and re-knit it with that deep heel adjustment and they'll fit me so much better. So I learned a lot. I'm glad I did it. It's gonna take me some time to do the other one, but I'm very excited because I love these socks and I'm gonna get so much more wear out of them. And if anything wears out again in the future, I know that I can hopefully re-knit bits of it to keep wearing it as long as I can. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you enjoyed. If you want to see more vintage kind of crafting, knitting, historical stuff, or just overall explorations of fiber crafts, feel free to subscribe. I always enjoy having more people around here. It's really fun. You guys are a very lovely community and I appreciate all of you being here, so thank you. I'm going to leave a link to a video right here that I think you might enjoy if you want to continue watching things like this. Thank you again, and I hope to see you very, very soon. Bye!
There's no way that they made a movie about freeing a captive whale and then like didn't free the whale, right?
Say I'm the prophet, but I'm the one they don't trust.
Hello, welcome to my pillow talk. So, Free Willy is a 1993 MTV Movie Awards nominated feature film following the adventures of a 12-year-old boy and his quest to free his pet whale from the clutches of a capitalist war zone known as knockoff SeaWorld. I'm not going to be telling you about the dangers of capitalism as foretold in Free Willy. Instead, I'm going to tell you about why I think that this movie is actually about existentialism. Roll the tape. Roll the tape! Part 1. The Free Willy Paradigm. History can really be broken up into two parts, okay? Things are either pre-Free Willy or post-Free Willy. PFW or PFW. Free Willy is ground zero for boys and their whales. Boys and their whales is the very official sociological, philosophical, scientific term that I have coined and patented for the fact that if there is a whale in a book or a movie or a TV show, there will inevitably in its vicinity be a troubled boy who needs to find himself. Okay? I don't make the rules. I don't make the rules, but this is how it is. Hear me out, okay? Hear me out. Free Willy, right? Voyage of the Mimi. Pinocchio. Jonah. Jonah was a grown man, but still, the point is here that boys and their whales is a thing, and it's a thing that I haven't been able to stop thinking about for several years. So that said, before we properly dive in, but since we are not going to be spending a lot of time talking about this, I do want to say off the top that like I have seen Blackfish, okay? And I think everybody should see Blackfish. Blackfish is a documentary about the mistreatment of whales, and it's very disturbing. It's very disturbing. I think it's important to watch, but it is very disturbing. Like it's not chill. So for the record, you can quote me on this. Whales, not pets, don't belong in captivity. I don't need to see a whale at the Camden Aquarium. I really don't. This will come up later because it's going to be relevant for obvious reasons, but I just wanted to make it clear off the top that we hate SeaWorld, and I think the fact that they've simply renamed their whale shows Orca Encounters is a disgusting cop-out. If you don't know what I mean by whale shows, SeaWorld, which is like it's like an aquarium park thing. It's dumb is what it is. It's dumb. But SeaWorld started doing like whale performance shows in the 1960s with Shamu. Shamu was a juvenile whale who was captured off the coast of Washington, and she spent a few weeks in a local aquarium where she was bought money by SeaWorld, and then she was forced to perform in these like orca shows and like bounce a ball on her nose and do all kinds of ridiculous shit until 1971 when she attacked a performer and subsequently died. This tragic event had SeaWorld sort of rethinking their whole program, and they sat down and they really thought about it, and they ultimately decided that they were going to continue capturing whales and just use the name Shamu as a stage name for all of them. It's giving Punxsutawney, but you know, this continued to happen to these poor creatures that were like cooped up, kept in like little tanks and glorified swimming pools where they could barely move around, fed inconsistent diets, and forced to perform like show ponies. Eventually snapped, and it was often while the whale trainers were in the water. Whale trainers who were underpaid, overly passionate, and really loved these creatures, and really a lot of times believed that they had a special connection with these creatures. They are the ones who paid the price ultimately. And what's crazy about it is that this would happen like in public shows. Like this would happen in front of audiences, like in front of children. The money that the concept of Shamu brought in to SeaWorld just outweighed everything else and any other possible alternative. And it's not just a SeaWorld thing. We're gonna use SeaWorld like almost ambiguously. Any kind of like water adventure aquarium park thing. Because no matter how many incidents like this occurred, the shows just did not stop. They just did not stop. There were gag orders put in place and lawsuits written in magazines and settlements and cover-ups and everything that needed to be done to keep the public in the dark as long as possible was done. The story of Toga, which is outlined in the extremely disturbing documentary Blackfish that I highly recommend you watch, is horrific and horrendous to the point where I really don't want to get into it. But Toga is a whale who was held captive, treated horrifically, and involved in several incidents, including the 1991 drowning of a 20-year-old trainer, Charles Byrne, at SeaWorld Pacific. And that incident in context is number 34 on this freeorgan.org list of organ incidents at public parks that I found. I don't know if that's an exhaustive list of every incident that's ever happened, but the fact that it's 33 is crazy. How you get past 2, 3 without realizing that this is a problem is beyond me. The introduction of Shamu is in 1965. That is 33 incidents in 26 years. And that is the context and the backdrop for Free Willy. Free Willy was filmed in 1992 and came out in 1993. 33 incidents of whales, making it very clear that they are not meant to be in captivity, and people not really super knowing about that. And Free Willy changed everything in terms of the public perception. Like we can talk about the actual impact on like animal safety and care later, but in terms of like how people saw the whale shows and saw these creatures and the concept of these marine parks, this movie was huge. Nobody gave a shit about the whales before Free Willy. I'm sorry, they just didn't. Like animal activists did, regular people did not. Now, did the people who made Free Willy give a shit about whales when they made Free Willy? up for debate. We can assess that later. The point is that Free Willy is a big fucking deal, okay? Free Willy is a big fucking deal. Pre-Free Willy, there were a lot of like thrillers and like horror movies about orca whales, right? Like the killer whale was taken incredibly seriously and they were like monster creatures. There were a couple films that were like man bonds with whale to set whale free, but like it was mostly kind of scary killer whale. But that's not everything. In the 1980s, there was also The Voyage of the Mimi. And Voyage of the Mimi is a science show. It's a science show from the 1980s starring Ben Affleck that follows a tween-age boy named CT as he is sent to his grandfather's for the summer. And his grandfather is this grouchy old man who has a boat called the Mimi that's going to go on a voyage. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Basically, science people who want to go science on the ocean can't drive boats, so they have to hire a grouchy old man and his small, awkward grandson to take them out into the ocean so that they can science. And everybody learns something, right? We learn a lesson about whales, we learn a lesson about life, we learn a lesson about survival. The show takes a weird turn. It takes a weird turn. Most of the show is like 15 minutes of them being on the boat and like learning something about like whale songs or how whales are tracked and whatnot. And then the second 15 minutes is like out of character, like the actors going to do some kind of like science lesson. It's funny because they give baby Ben Affleck all of the best adventures, which like they should, but like baby Ben Affleck is going to like cryo chambers. He's being like taken to the Arctic. He's like swimming with creatures. Then you cut to like the next episode and the other guy's like listening to whale songs. I get it, because if you like, you gotta give the fun ones to the kid. Like you can't have a 10-year-old and be like, sorry, you don't get to go to the wind chamber adventure. Like that would be a bummer. But I do think it's really funny because I would be annoyed. What was I talking about? Oh, okay. So anyway, that's the majority of the show. And then there's a point in the show where it just goes, they get shipwrecked. Like, they legitimately get shipwrecked. And the grandfather almost dies. The grandfather almost dies, and two of the other dudes have to strip down naked and get in a sleeping bag to keep him warm. They, like, are running out of food. They do have a guitar, thank God. But, like, it just takes a very sudden and dark turn into Moby Dick territory. It's very strange. But anyway, Free Willy. Free Willy comes out in 1993, and Free Willy follows tween-age fugitive Jesse, who is on the run from the law. I'm not kidding. I'm kind of kidding. Jesse's lived on the streets. He's lived on the streets in the Pacific Northwest, right? Originally, apparently, he was like just a boy. And then in the making of the film, one of the producers was like, he should have some edge. Let's give him some street cred. And so they made him like a meddling orphan, causing mayhem on the streets of what looks like Astoria, Oregon. Maybe it's supposed to be Portland. Either way, Jesse and his friends are causing a little ruckus, right? And they're like hiding from the cops because they stole like a cake, and they're hiding out in this what looks like an abandoned adventure aquarium. It is not, evidently, but they're hiding out in this like adventure aquarium park situation where they figure, while we're hiding from the cops, should we like do a vandalism? Just like a little one, like a little fun treat, just a little vandalism. So Jesse spray paints onto this mysterious tank, which, surprise, has a scary whale in it. To be fair, if you are 12, it is probably very terrifying if you're not expecting to see a whale, okay? I'll give him that. Destiny. This is destiny, okay? This is fate. He meets this whale, the stars align, the earth trembles, God himself sheds a tear. But before they really get to connect and vibe, Jesse gets caught, because of course he does, because you are hiding out in another establishment doing another crime. Two crimes don't make a left. And he gets caught, and instead of going to baby jail,
they'll put you in baby jail. That means a lockup in juvenile hall, son.
He just kind of gets like assigned a new foster home, and they're like, hey, just don't run away this time. Go to this foster home, where the dad makes it very clear that like, this is a lease I ain't buying yet.
No, this is a lease. I ain't buying yet.
Which is crazy. And his community service project to kind of make up for getting out of baby jail is that he has to clean up the mess that he made at the aquarium. So it's sort of explained to Jesse that Willie is like not particularly good at being a performing show pony. He doesn't really do the tricks that they want him to do. He doesn't catch the ball or do the jumpy, like the thing where they like come out of the. It's got a name. What's the name? What does it mean? What is it when whales breaching? He won't breach. Okay. Speaking of breach. Did you know that it takes companies on average 277 days to report data breaches? Data breaches that contain your data, your personal data, could be sitting in the hands of a capital C criminal for several months and you would have no idea. That's terrifying. That is a horrifying concept. Bank of America has had several breaches in the past year. Last year, Citigroup and JP Morgan and Chase all announced they had breaches. Your bank could be breached right now and you would be several months away from finding out about it. Do you want a criminal to have a 9-month head start? I don't think so. That's why it is so important for us to be talking about today's sponsor, Aura. Because while I'm doing this and talking to you about the importance of boys and their whales, Aura is keeping an eye out on the dark web for my phone number, my email, my social security number, and they are going to alert me if anyone tries to use that information to get into my bank accounts or steal my identity. If, God forbid, worst case scenario, that does happen, Aura gives me up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, so I'm covered. I'm covered. They've got me. And they can have you too. You can go to my link, aura.com/bizbarkley, to try 14 days for free, which is more than enough time for Aura to find out if your data is exposed and let you know before whatever company is like forced to tell you, okay? Look, it's a lot, I know, but I don't want to roll the dice on my identity protection anymore. And if you don't either, just go to aura.com/bizbarkley to try 2 weeks for free. And thank you to Aura for sponsoring this video. It's very cool. I love when my sponsors do things that keep people safe. It's great. Speaking of safe, you know who's not safe mentally, physically, spiritually? Willie the whale.
Willie gets in the mood. You gotta give him his space. You know what I mean?
So he goes to Off-Brand SeaWorld, which in this case is a compliment, and he meets the whale trainer, and the whale trainer is like, hey, don't fuck with the whale. Don't fuck with the whale, and he won't fuck with you. And Jesse is like, aye, Captain. God, I wish people did the same for me. Fair, I feel you. I'm with you, kid. And this, like, troubled, parentless boy character is ever present through all whale stories. If there is a whale, you best believe somewhere nearby is a broken boy or man who just needs to learn and grow, okay? Luna, Spirit of the Whale, is a Canadian movie about a recovering alcoholic, and he is returning home to his First Nations reserve to attend his father's funeral. So he has like a job in another city, and he's coming back to attend his father's funeral. And his father was the chief, which means that, like, technically speaking, he should now be chief, but he does not want to be chief. He plans to, like, just do the funeral and get the fuck out of Dodge, right? But while he is there, his mom convinces him to help out this troubled kid with dead parents that his father, the chief, was apparently mentoring. This movie is based on a true story as well, not the recovering alcoholic thing. I don't know. I don't know if the, like, boy connecting with his father family storyline is true, but the actual story is based on a true story, and we'll get into it. But speaking of true story, did you know that Chris Hemsworth made a Moby Dick movie? It's not actually Moby Dick because obviously no one wants to put the word dick on a movie poster next to Chris Hemsworth's face except for me. But it is based on the story that Moby Dick is based on. Moby Dick is based on a true story. Now, I did not read Moby Dick. I will not be one. I have tried several times in my life to read, and I can't get through the first 1 page. sunk. It was sunk, sank, sinkened, obliterated from boatly existence by a sperm whale, which makes the Moby Dick thing like so much funnier. Big, huge ass white whale. Yeah, I don't know if I can stress to you how big sperm whales are. They're massive. So the whale ship Essex is in the Pacific Ocean in 1820. It's on its way to South America, and it gets hit by this whale, and it is a big disaster. Most people die. Most of the people do. But not everybody died. Some people lived. Some people lived to tell the tale, including a Thomas Nickerson. And Thomas Nickerson, played by Tom Holland in the film, was a 14-year-old cabin boy who, oh please, was an orphan. His parents died before he was 2 years old. Thank you very much. And that's a true story. And they make Tom Holland get inside a whale. Inside a whale. Speaking of inside a whale, Pinocchio. Do you remember him? Orphan boy, sort of orphan, sort of boy. Very troubled, can't stop lying. Really needs a father figure and a rhinoplasty. He gets swallowed by a whale-ish, right? You know who else gets swallowed by a whale? Jonah. This is the biggest stretch because Jonah wasn't technically a boy, but he was troubled and he had some learning to do. So like spiritually, Jonah is a boy. You don't know what I'm talking about. Jonah of And the Whale fame is a figure in the Old Testament, which is before God went soft, before God became like a father figure to humanity and lost his edge, let's be honest. Before that, God was harsh though. God was intense. Old Testament God might be, or maybe not hard enough. We don't know, but all I'm saying is that this is a God who was killing the whole family to teach a lesson, okay? And he tells Jonah to go and prophesize to the city of Nineveh because they are living in sin. They're a hot mess over there. He's like, Jonah, I need you to go and tell them about me. And God tells Jonah that he has to go prophesize to these people. If you don't prophesize to them, I'm gonna have to smite them. And I don't want to smite them, even though I feel like he did kind of want to smite them. Jonah is contemplating, because here's the thing, like this city, they're like low-key rivals. It's like a Hatchetfield, Clivesdale situation. They don't vibe. And Jonah's just kind of thinking, he's like, I mean, like, these people are, like, really not cool to the Jewish people. Like, they're really fucking with my people. And maybe I don't tell them anything. Ooh, would that be crazy? Would that be crazy? Maybe I just, like, hop on this boat and let them get what they deserve, right? I mean, how's God gonna know? Obviously, this does not work out in his favor. There's like a storm. Jonah gets thrown off a boat. He's swallowed by a whale. He gets back to the city, and God is like, hey, what did I say? And Jonah's like, fine. And Jonah goes very begrudgingly to go do what God says. Then God is like, thank you. This is why we have compassion. And it's all fine after that. Now, what does any of this have to do with existentialism? Existentialism is a brand of philosophy that started brewing in like the 19th century, but really like came to a boil, came to a fruition. It had its greatest hits, Eras Tour rounds in the like mid 20th century in Europe. Existentialism is concerned with a lot of things. It's very vast. It has a lot of angles. But it was really like a reaction sort of to rationalism. And rationalism was like basically what was going on in philosophy up to that point, right? So through the 1700s, early 1800s, it was just like, how do we think our way through? How can we think our way to happiness? Like, how do we solve all of our problems by thinking really, really hard? It was all about like deduction, philosophical arguments, right? Like I've talked about it in other videos. You have like the if X and Y, then Z, therefore cat, like that kind of thing. Like I think therefore I am structure was like the beat, right? Like that was the hot ticket. Then existentialists were kind of like, are we sure that that's the way to go? Because just gonna throw it out there, things don't seem to be better. We don't seem to be happier on the whole. This is like 19th century, like peak depression era. Mental depression, not economic depression. And, and so the existentialists really started asking questions and exploring meaning. like the meaning of life and freedom and responsibility and agency. Because if you kill God, like Nietzsche did, or like some would argue Kant did first, if you kill God with rationalism and enlightenment, and you reason your way into a world without divine predestination and precognition, if there is no big man sky daddy playing with us like we are Sims, then then what? Like, what is the point? What is the point of having you all? That's what the Brothers Karamazov is all about. The Brothers Karamazov by Fyodor Dostoevsky. If you watched my God's Not Dead video, my God's Not Dead video is like secretly a Brothers Karamazov video. The question of the Brothers Karamazov is, if there is no afterlife, then why should we be moral? What is morality if you are not trying to avoid hell? All of those kind of questions in the late 19th century lead to this existential crisis of what are we doing here and what is the point of anything? And it's a lot, okay? Existentialism is a lot. People are going to be mad about whatever I say about existentialism, because anything that Nietzsche is even tangentially related to becomes like a nightmare to talk about on the internet, because someone is always just like, actually. And so we're not going to talk about Nietzsche, because everything that is tangentially related to Nietzsche academically becomes a nightmare to talk about on the internet. Also, like, I don't care about him. I really could not care less about his anti-Semitic Cokefield ramblings about how he's Mozart and women are lying cows. Like, I really couldn't give any less of a shit. We're also not gonna be like solving existentialism. This is not a course on existentialism. There's definitely a philosophy tube video that's better. Luckily, I don't actually have to teach you existentialism, because the boys and their whales are gonna do it for me, alright? What do all of these boys have in common besides the whale? Lying. Lies. Dirty old lies. But not just any dirty old lie, though there is certainly a fair amount of that. A specific kind of lying. Lying to yourself. Lying to yourself, a concept we are all familiar with. One that is particularly important to the Britney Spears of existentialism, Jean-Paul Sartre, who is a French philosopher born in 1905 who died in 1980, and he wrote that famous play No Exit, where like hell is other people because they're all trapped in a room together, and instead of being tortured, they all just have to judge each other for eternity. That guy wrote about this specific kind of flavor of lying to yourself that he calls bad faith. This bad faith is different from the internet's bad faith, right? Like, this is not the same as when someone commented on my last video that because I used a more feminist reading of the myth of Calypso, I am therefore an apologist. Not the bad faith where people assume malicious intent in every comment section, and not the kind of bad faith the Nietzsche bros like to put in the comments of my God's Not Dead Midnight Mass video. Not that. Bad faith in existentialism is an affect. It's a psychological, metaphysical explanation for certain human behavior. We are in bad faith when we are denying our freedom, not only of action, but of being. When we become too wrapped up in sort of hyper-specific identities like the good girl, the athlete, the mom, the YouTuber. When we start to label ourselves, we often find ourselves altering our behavior to fit into this mold or brand of who we think we are or should be in order to fit into society or achieve some kind of goal that we think will make us happy. We are performing the role of blank. That's what it means to be in bad faith. And like, Pinocchio's like literally a puppet. Pinocchio is actually a really great example, because Pinocchio isn't in bad faith because he's lying to Geppetto. Pinocchio is in bad faith because he thinks that he has no choice but to join the puppet show and is letting someone literally pull his strings and control him. He's not taking responsibility for his actions. That's what puts him in bad faith. It's not the fact that he skipped school and then tried to lie about it. It's the fact that he didn't feel like he had the option to say no in the first place. Jonah is in bad faith because Jonah thinks that he can just avoid his responsibility for the smiting of the entire city by dipping out, telling himself that the people of Nineveh could never have changed, and if he prophesied to them, it still would have meant nothing, and that they kind of deserve it, and that's, you know, the way that it should be. And so when we meet Jesse is in bad faith. He thinks that he has no choice but to act the way that he does. He thinks that he's just like a street kid, and he's a troublemaker, troublemaker and that this is sort of all he can do. He doesn't have parents and no one is going to help him. He assumes that everyone is going to leave him and denies the possibility that going into this new foster family could be good, maybe. He denies the possibility that anybody is looking out for his best interest. I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm not saying that he's not right to think that. The foster care system, especially in the United States, is horrible. And most of the time, kids are not being treated with respect or care. And most people in the world are, like, probably not good people, you know? Neither Sart or I are saying that you can will yourself out of poverty if you just believe, but rather that in this scenario, Jesse is over-identifying with his physical circumstances and situation, which is what Sartre and Beauvoir call fasticity. Fasticity is your physical circumstances, where you are born, what time and place, your environment, your previous life choices, things that are concrete and outside of your control that cannot be changed anymore. Being in bad faith is denying your agency in the situation and denying that maybe if you give an inch, someone else might give an inch, and there's like a possibility. Jesse's an orphan, he's living on the street, he steals for food, he has no choice but to do vandalism.
The Warzone team?